I think we're going. Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. And it will be Football Link, but it can't be today because of configuration issues. Configuration, the word it exists all around me all the time. I hate it so much, but it is what it is. We're back with Johnny H3232, fresh from Frankfurt fame.
Not fresh, Sean. Not fresh. Smashed to pieces in Germany. But what a great trip. Go on, sorry, carry on with your intro, Shawnee.
Well, no, listen, it's been a while, guys. It's been a while. Apologies for all the absence in content and the time delays. You know, when I disappear, it's only because of shenanigans. It's never deliberate. But listen, I managed to be able to squeeze this one out. I couldn't not spend the last 24 hours hammering through preference, property lists, configuration files, figuring out what the hell's going on, and then finding a way to get back live because I wanted to talk about what an amazing Thursday night of football, not just at Tottenham, but at Old Trafford as well. I mean, what a game that was. Rangers, unfortunately, couldn't get past Bilbao. 4 teams, Bodo, Glimt doing the business over in Rome as well, doing the Rome double this season. We got them next, a long trip. I was listening to We Are Tottenham TV, Ben and Brian Daigle, I think it was. Shout out to those guys. And Ben was talking about the travel plans to get to Bodo. Apparently, it's like a couple of hour flight or whatever to into Oslo. And then maybe, if need be, because of the lack of flights available, a 13-hour drive north into the Arctic Circle to get to Bodo. I mean, you'd have to be a bozo to take that on, wouldn't you, Johnny? But I don't know if you would, because I think this time round, it really does feel different, mate. Let me know. What was it like in Frankfurt? What was it like?
Mate, first of all, if I could get a ticket for Bodo Glimt, I'd fly to Oslo, and if necessary, I mean, Santa's quite quiet at the moment. I'd ask him to borrow his sledge and a couple of reindeer and mush my way to the North Pole. Right. That's what I would do.
Rudolph! Wake up, Rudolph! I need you!
We're not meant to be up till Christmas. You're not doing anything now. Listen, it was talking about the Bodo Glimt, Lazio, Man United scenario, right? I'm starting at the end rather than the beginning, but we were marched through the woods, right? And as a Jewish guy, right?
You were what? You were marched through the woods?
We were marched through the woods by some German police, by the German police, right? And
really?
Hundreds of them, right? It was a real slick military operation, all dressed in black. And we were
hang on a second. When I'm hearing a story like this, I need to know. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions along the way. This probably be pardon the interruptions. But so, as a Tottenham fan, did you have to meet at a certain place by the police? You had to, did you?
Yeah. So, all right. So I'll come back to the end. I'll start at the beginning. So we all met at the pub. I was up at 3 a.m., flew out at 6:30. Got on the plane, train, automobile, taxi, got to my hotel, dumped my stuff, quick wash, back out to the pub because the pub can only hold 1,000 people. And basically,
how many Tottenham fans were there?
About 3,000, 2,500. So if you didn't get in, you didn't get in. But there was lots outside. Anyway, so went to the pub for hours, had a drink. And surrounding the pub, all the way around the pub, was other pubs, which were Eintracht Frankfurt fans. Anyway.
Good atmosphere, like friendly atmosphere?
Right,
or?
Yeah, well, so we came out the pub and all of a sudden there was police everywhere. When I say police everywhere, I'm not talking about, I thought this was like a rally, right? Like a rally where you'd see like hundreds and hundreds of police, not for something like this. All dressed in black, combats, all masked up, right?
Oh, really?
On serious-looking people. Hello, yes, this is the German police. You will. I was just saying, where are your papers? It wasn't any of that, but it was Stones, Spurs fans. You will assemble at the designated spot, and you will march with us to the station. And all of this, right, on a big loudspeaker. But there were, I've never seen so many police. On the other side of the pub were loads of Eintracht Frankfurt fans Spurs fans were all pretty tanked up by that time. We walked. We got marched.
Wait, what time did you have to get to the pub at?
Well, I got to the pub. Well, I thought I'd get there early, grabbed a bite to eat. I was at the pub at 2, and we were marched out at 6:30. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. And I wasn't the first at the pub.
You're not a big drinker. You're not a big drinker.
No, I'm not a big drinker. But even then, after 4.5 hours, right? Believe me, you drink, right?
Of course, I
wasn't sitting there eating plates of chips. Anyway, so they marched us. They marched us into the train station, right? And the fans were all singing "I Don't Care About Levy," and it was echoing throughout the station. Shoved us onto a train. We then came out the station down into a tunnel, more shouting Levy and we don't care. It was very, very loud. And then we were then marched through a forest, right? It was a dense forest, and I'm being serious, right? And the forest thing was full of horseshit all over the floor. And I shouted to the policeman, "Oi, hang on a minute." I said, "I'm Jewish. Jews don't get marched into the forest by Germans." Right? Not of their own free will, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was quite a long walk. Got into the stadium. I got to say, it was really weird because we got marched in under massive police escort because the Frankfurt fans are absolute scumbags, right? And we get into the stadium, we get through it, and it's all mixed in, Sean.
Oh, really? No separation, nothing.
There doesn't seem to be any separation in the concourses. Anyway, got in there.
Going to Fulham away is just like they don't expect that. It's just you get some of the home and the away fans.
I just say to you, it was like Germany 1936 in there at the Nuremberg rally. The chanting, their fans were unbelievable. In fact, the Spurs fans group should be looking at Frankfurt and saying what I've mentioned for about the last 18 months. Forget your tifos if you haven't got the money. Just get everyone to buy a blue and white scarf, go into the south stand, and at a designated stand, hold them up. It looked unbelievable. There was chanting and everything. Anyway, we all know what happened. It was unbelievable. My son's phone flew out of his pocket when we scored the penalty, flew out of his pocket and into a river of beer. His phone decided to die before we tried CPR on his phone in the stand.
Has anyone got a bag of rice? Has anyone got a bag of rice?
No silicone gel. Anyone got any silicone gel? No silicone gel. So you can imagine he tried to bring it back to life. Anyway, more on that story later. But it was the buzz, the countdown. And the buzz. Listen, Spurs fans, whether you were out there or not or at home, right? You know, it was a special thing to celebrate, okay, after 41 years, the first time 41 years that we've been Europa League semi. But for those fans that have been going home and away, it was we're not better fans, but for those to celebrate and experience something good after so many shocking results, it was great. And you can imagine the celebrations afterwards. They were pretty special. And then the funny
game
thing,
it's an hour later as well, right? So it starts at 9
o'clock.
So about 11 o'clock you get out. Well, I guess do they keep you in? I guess for a while to separate the German fans.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, I'd already been going since 3 a.m. in the morning, and I was still going. So they start marching us through the woods, right? And everyone's going, we're going to Bilbao. And he said, "Have you booked?" People going, "Yes, it's Lazio. We're all going to Rome. We're all going to Rome." Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only a few of you are going to the Arctic.
They were going, "Shut up. You ain't going to fucking Rome." Bodo has scored. Fuck off. They haven't scored. They have. No, they haven't. You can imagine a line of people in pitch black. The only light was a faraway police searchlight, like whoop on their head.
Well, you're still in the stadium at this point, are you? You're still in the stadium.
Yeah, it was like, no, we're walking through the forest.
Oh, you're walking through the forest at this point.
It's
Okay.
pitch black, and it's a long walk. I'm not talking about a 2-minute walk. I'm talking about a 15, 20-minute walk, right through the forest. And all you could see was the lights on people's phones. United are out. No, they're not.
That game.
Right.
That game
so we are marching through the forest, and you've got people with their phones up, and it's penalties. And they were going, I want to go to Rome. Fuck Rome. They're bastards. They'll stab you, right? We don't want to go to Rome, right? Well, you won't go to Bodo. So you had a section of people wanting to go to Bodo Glimt who had, the top...
Enough loyalty points.
Yeah, the top 1% wanted to go to Bodo Glimt. The rest wanted to go to Rome. And, we had the penalty shootout as we were walking down in the dark. And like people screaming, yes, no, missing the penalties. I don't know who scored and who missed. I think Guendouzi was the only one I remember who missed the pen.
Well, I think it finished 3-1 the pens or something. So like it was basically most of them missed. Yeah, most of them missed.
Yeah, so there was a lot of that, but it was a really fun. It was a real fun moment. In case any of you are thinking about going to Frankfurt on a holiday, give it a miss. Okay, give it a miss. Full of crack addicts. It looked like it had, it was very nice before the war. They bombed it to pieces during the war, and they haven't had time to rebuild it. Bar the the financial centre, which was quite nice. But on the whole, but what a special night! Yeah. And can I just say, Ange Postecoglou, right? I ain't going to hear you moan once now about VAR because the ref never gave the pen.
Well, which is a disgrace, by the way.
I know.
That referee was an absolute disgrace. That pen was a Stonewall pen from... First of all, let me just say, I was watching I don't have access to TNT in the house. I'm trying to cut back on all of the various access points. So I went down the pub, my local pub, the White Hart. Shout out to those guys in Alderstone. And Tottenham pub, basically, randomly. And so I met a few blokes in there, but the noise was turned up. So I remember a couple of weeks back, about a couple of months back, I went down there on a Sunday afternoon, and I was like, "You putting the game on?" And they went, "Yeah, it will be on, but there'll be no audio because people are having their dinner." And I went, "What? This is a Tottenham pub." And I was so disgusted. I went to a different pub, which was equally good, and they had all the different sports games on. On that night, on Thursday night, they turned it up so loud, and with the noise of that stadium, I was talking to some random guy called Tom, sat next to me. I could barely hear myself think over the noise of the crowd through the TV. It was that deafening. And then the only thing that got us, everyone in the pub got so rowdy was the referee, not just the missed penalty, right? But even at the end, when Romero came flying out like a stag in a 100-meter race and took out that player, and rightly so, the card should have been given for yellow card. But the referee played advantage for like 15 seconds. And then it didn't. Eventually, Tottenham defended it down the left side under Destiny Udogie, who was sensational on the night. We'll talk about all that stuff.
Yeah, he was very good.
But because the move broke down 15 seconds later, he took it back and gave them one last chance in the 93rd minute. I'm like, this isn't rugby. This is football. You either get advantage or you don't. If you played advantage and it doesn't work out, you don't get to then go back. There was a number of occasions in that game where the referee was an absolute disgrace. And to your point around Ange Postecoglou moaning about VAR, I think he had every right to still say, actually,
you're missing my point.
Shouldn't have gone to VAR in the first place. The referee missed it. It was ridiculous.
No, my point is, I'm just saying he's the one, because he says he hates VAR. I'm just saying this is the one moment in time where, you should be loving VAR.
Well, and also the last time we were in the quarterfinals of, which happened to be 6 years ago on the same night, it was VAR that saved us against Manchester City, wasn't it? In the 95th minute, when Sergio Aguero scored that goal, that would have sent us out of the Champions League, and he was a toenail offside, and that sent us through to the semis. But yeah, so listen, VAR.
No, that's all I'm saying. I'm just saying it's with VAR. Yes, we all know, it's a nightmare, but sometimes sometimes it can be the thing that saves you, rather than the thing that breaks you. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, of course, yeah, of course. But do you think it should have been a red card, by the way, or not?
No.
You think it was just a yellow card was reasonable, yeah?
I think it was reasonable. Yeah, I think it was reasonable. I don't think he intentionally went out. It was a penalty. Like from where I was, I'm going, why aren't they doing VAR? They said it must be VAR. And I said, but there isn't any VAR. Even on the TV, they were saying, I think I'm missing something. I'm looking up on the big screen there and nothing was going on. Somebody had their phone out. Why you'd be looking at your phone, I don't know, but they got their phone out and
it says the man who captures every single moment of his. I'm
talking about watching it on TV. I'm talking about watching it on TV. Why would you be watching it on TV? Was
the vantage point? How far back were you? Because isn't it more of like, is it an Olympic stadium type thing where there's a gap between
No, it's a whole rounded stadium. It was a fabulous stadium. The atmosphere was, the atmosphere was pretty hostile. It was really, really good. It was fantastic atmosphere. I mean, it's embarrassing how good their atmosphere was. I mean, if their atmosphere is a 10, we were a 0.5 in comparison.
Do you think we'll be rowdy for the Bodo Glimt game?
Well, listen, Bodo Glimt are missing 3 of their main players, aren't they? They all got booked. The striker who scored their goals, he's out. And 2 others. I can't remember the others 2 that are out, but he got sad. But
and the other thing, mate, because I tell you what, mate, I'm so glad I booked my flights and I got my ticket for Bilbao. I think Tottenham are going to go. I think Tottenham will get there. The only thing I'm sad about is when I booked my flights and I booked the ticket, I looked at how much accommodation was going to be. And there was a few hotels available within about a mile, but it was for the 3 days I'll be in Bilbao, or 2 nights. There'll be I think it's 3 nights, maybe, I'm not sure. There'll be it was like £1,000, like 350 quid or whatever minimum, right, for a piece of shit. Then I looked again about after the first leg, and it was like £1,300. I'm guessing now it's going to cost like 2.5 grand, especially if Man United get there as well, mate. It's going to be a nightmare getting accommodation in Bilbao. But I've got my flights and I've got my ticket to the final if we get there.
So what I'm hoping is Bilbao knock out Man United. They lose all their deposits, right? And we can take up their allocation.
Yeah. Do you have enough points? I guess you'll have enough points.
I must have. I've got over 300 and something on points now. So
yeah.
I mean, I'm not the top echelons. I'm not the top echelons of it at all. You're going to need. We got 400 tickets for Bodo Glimt, and 400, I reckon. only 8,000, and of those 400, I'm sure 400 of those will be going to family players.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Daniel Levy's entourage.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we take Scott Munn's tickets off of him.
Mate, but let me ask you this though: Did you see something? But first of all, let me just quickly go through a couple of super chats and say hello to everybody. Tom Martin, member for 15 months. Thank you very much for your support, my man. Again, I apologise for these little periods of absence of content, guys. It's not deliberate, I promise you, but very much appreciated. Evening to everybody else. I've said hello to a few. I'm just going to shoot through because there's also one from Spurs GCTV. Good evening, lads. Come on, you Spurs. Trophies in the emojis. Love to see it. Thank you very much, my guys. I appreciate you all. The Bilbao ground holds 40K, says Adrian. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be as many. I think you're going to still have to be fairly high up the points total to be able to get a ticket for it, which is why I paid through the nose. And I hope that the company's going to come through. Rob Frank is also here, saying member for 6 months. Thank you very much. Johnny, let me ask you about the game, though, right? For sure, that was the best away performance from Tottenham in Europe since Ajax. It's arguably one of the best all-round performances by a Tottenham team. Well, for sure this season. I think maybe you could look at the Man City game when we won 4-0 and these little things in isolation. But the stakes, the pressure, the adaptation of the tactics. I mean, everybody to a man in that 11 was fantastic. Everybody that came on off the bench was sensational. The pivot towards a back three from Ange for the latter stages. The first time we've seen a back three since Everton away. We've spoken about that so many times. I mean, we have to give massive credit here to the manager and to the boys. You know, like I say, to a man, no one was anything other than exceptional. The only player that I think you could probably give less than a 7 out of 10 to, if I'm entirely honest, was probably Brennan Johnson, but not for the usual reasons. Like, I usually criticize Brennan Johnson for being for someone who just trots on the spot and doesn't get back and help out, but he actually got back and helped out Pedro Porro down that left-hand side where, you know, Ekitike was trying his best to kind of attack from. But to me, he didn't do enough, and there was no real there was very little activity from Tottenham down the right-hand side. And I think that there's an argument that we could have maybe seen a little bit better balance with someone like with Odebear coming on and being able to offer more of what we were seeing down the left-hand side. Down the left, Udogie and Matisse Tell was sensational. And as much as this is going to be an awkward thing to say here, Johnny, and this is where I'd love you to answer. We'll go where you want with it, always, as ever. But the absence of Sonny, to me, was a blessing in disguise, a massive blessing in disguise. Would you agree?
Yeah. Look, for me, I had no doubt we were going to win. I've said to people in the week before the tie, I just felt, they said, well, how can you? You've been slagging us off. You're saying we're shit. I said, yeah. But I'm telling you now that they will self-motivate. These players, when they get onto the big European stage, the chance of glory, a medal, and what this means to Spurs, you know, Spurs immortality, you know, a club legend, to always be remembered, the team that were there to, you know, win the trophy. Unfortunately, what we remember about the Champions League is three decisions, really. Three things: the night in Ajax and the hat-trick, Harry Kane getting the nod over Lucas Moura, and that controversial penalty that should never have been a penalty for the handball. That's what we remember. Had they won that night, you know, they would have written their names into the history books. Not that we have any history books at Spurs, but my point here is that
they're just very dusty. You have to go back.
Look back. But for me, I always believed that these players would self-motivate for their own self. Now, I was at Fulham, I was at Wolves, and I was watching those same players. Even the warm-up was different, right? You know, the warm-up at Fulham where they're dicking, Sonny was messing around with Maddison and they were pushing each other around and not listening to the Peter Crouch lookalike. This was business. You could tell that this was serious business, right? And I just knew we were going to raise our game, and you could see everyone was on it. I thought Romero was absolutely superb, right? He was leading by example. I was
night and day versus what we saw the week before, right?
Yeah, no. So I was at Wolves. I was the one slagging him off for going down the tunnel because I believe it's wrong, and even today I'll tell you it's wrong. But that is the man who will one day lead Argentina, because big players step up to the big games. And that showed last night. And I got to tell you, I thought Bentancur was unbelievable, right? And I know you said, Sean, that you didn't quite see.
No, it's weird. It's weird, mate. Just on that one, like, everybody universally agrees with your take. When I was watching the first half,
I haven't seen the TV of it, so.
But everybody, like everybody I've watched, every feedback, everyone says that Bentancur was second man of the match or third man of the match or whatever. In the first half, I remember shouting out like 5 or 6 times. I was like, Bentancur, you're filling irrelevant gaps, mate. You're irrelevant. You are, that the game is passing you by. And in the second half, he got much better. As did we grew into the game so much. But look, I'm happy to be wrong. Like, I'm happy to, if everybody feels differently, then I'm like, okay, maybe I just missed something. But
look,
for the first half an hour, I just thought that Bentancur was a bit of an irrelevance in that game.
Well, I thought we started again slow again. We cannot allow the amount of crosses. Listen, look, let's be honest, right? When Mario Götze went off, I turned around and said, "We've got this."
Yeah.
How can you say that? I said, because
I said that's like going down to 10 men for them.
Right?
Losing him is not.
He's their inspiration, right? He's their inspiration. He's their experience. They had no Knauf. Knauf had just come back. He was on the bench. While he's been injured, he's on the bench. So, it was a big blow to them. And I thought we had it. But look how many crosses we allowed to come in that first half. I mean, I think we had. Now, the interesting thing is, before we played Frankfurt, when I was looking at how they play, I said, if we don't play Ange ball, we will win this tie. Why? Because they struggle against a team that low blocks, a team that blocks up and hits them on counter-attack. Frankfurt, they struggle against the low block. But in transition, they are probably one of the best teams in Germany in transition. And if we go toe-to-toe with them, we're going to pay for the price. And what I noticed was that's exactly what we did. We played low block, almost counter-attacking, really tight game, and they struggled to break us down. They had lots of crosses coming in, which we allowed. I think we had 40% possession.
Most of those crosses were deep crosses. And I was okay with it. I was okay with it, mate, because if you look at Frankfurt, the way that they usually play, like to your point, they're not someone like Ekitike is one of the best up-and-coming talents who needs the ball at his feet and create space. But when you have Romero that's touched tight to him the way he was, that was just insane. Like, I don't think anybody's pocketed Ekitike this season like he has. Obviously, losing Mamouche, that like Frankfurt are not the same team without him yet. But I'm okay. Like if you're forcing a team that doesn't traditionally do very well in the air to whip the ball in inside of 35 minutes of the first half, to me it looked like Frankfurt were really struggling to figure us out, to figure out a way to break through. And I know that Tottenham are not great aerially, generally speaking, but on the night, Micky van der Ven, who I don't give credit to as an aerial beast, he was tidy as hell. Romero was tidy as hell. And then we kept at it in that regard. And then later on, pivoting to a back three, bringing on the likes of Kevin Danso, who was just brilliant. Everything that came his way, just bonk, see it out, see you later. It was just credit where it's due, Johnny. Like Ange Postecoglou.
I was getting to. That's what I was getting to, because what I was about to say was, I said, will Ange try to play Ange ball against Frankfurt? I said, if they play Ange ball, they will get beat. If they play, as I said, a low block, counter-attacking football, we can beat them because they struggled. I've seen it in the games. I looked at the games that they struggled at, and that was the system they get. If you come and play at them and want to play open, expansive football, then you're going to get nowhere. So they had lots of ball, 60% of the possession, but none of it. Look, my hat's off to Ange, because he finally got that right. And, we kept that, we kept it tight. I mean, let's be honest, right? We didn't look, I mean, apart from Romero header and another one and the Matthias Tell effort, we didn't really offer much either. It was very much sort of cat and mouse after the goal went in. I didn't feel much of a threat, but the last 15, 20 minutes was all them, really.
Well, you'd expect that, wouldn't you? You'd expect that, right? Like you're holding on tight to a lead, especially when you make the substitutions that you do. You're clearly hanging on, which I was fine with. The only thing I might have considered doing differently, maybe Pedro Porro, could have been replaced with Jed Spence just to offer up a little bit of solidarity, more defensive solidarity down the right. But I thought Pedro Porro was spectacular on the night. I thought Brennan Johnson, like I say, I think he had that one chance where he galloped forward and he pulled the ball back. Nice to Matthias Tell, who mishit it. But apart from that, didn't do too much. And all of our creativity came down the left-hand side. And I've got to spend a little bit of time here, mate, talking about this. It's all about relationships. Playing down your width is about relationships and chemistry and wavelength. And for me, what I think is fantastic is that we have Jed Spence. Now, Jed Spence has done absolutely nothing wrong, didn't necessarily deserve to be replaced, apart from for the fact that Destiny Udogie had a wonderful first leg performance as well. But playing, we've seen Destiny Udogie and Sonny struggle to create and form a relationship. Sonny and Jed Spence hasn't been spectacular going forward. But now you've got three fullbacks, one of whom can easily play on either side, right? Who's like, I've got no problem if he comes in on Monday. I've got no problem if they change it up, flip it up, because I know that
He will,
right? But for me, I think that the chemistry that was forged there between Tell and Udogie was just sensational. Destiny Udogie, I think that was his best performance I've seen, certainly before his injury, but maybe ever. I thought he gallivanted forward with the ball at ease. His interceptions, his anticipation was just brilliant. He cut out so much trouble down there, right down our left, and then worked in tandem with Matisse Tell, where they would interchange the possession, do 1-2 touch type passing. It was just a joy to behold, and something that Tottenham fans, should be excited about, because, hopefully, I mean, I don't know. Have you seen enough out of Matisse Tell as a development there to sort of sit there and go, I'm okay with him being made permanent in the summer for the right price?
Look, one swallow don't make a summer, Sean. Right? Okay.
Correct.
He's got. He's played 24 games. He's played about 1,090 minutes, and he's got a penalty and a tap-in goal. Okay, it's not good enough. But on the positive side, okay, he had his best game for Spurs in a Spurs shirt last night. My question is, if Sonny's going, then by all means, buy Mathias Tell, right? Okay, because then he can dovetail between him and Mikey Moore on that left-hand side, or Yang, or Solomon, or whoever. Solomon, who's having a good season, by the way, and Yang, who's actually, although he's very lightweight, he's getting good reports coming from QPR. For me, though, we must renegotiate that fee. Okay, if you're going to tell me £50 million for a 19-year-old who hasn't produced anywhere near £50 million, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. Go back, renegotiate it, because that £50 million that's going to come off of our summer spend, and we need other positions more desperately, with Mikey Moore and Odeberg and Yang and Solomon. I don't know who's going to stay or whoever, but we've got plenty of options. And I don't want him blocking the path. I think 25 million, go back, renegotiate and pay them 25 million and give them a percentage, say 35% of the sell-on value profit. I'm happy to do that. But it has to be in context. And I wonder whether or not... Look, I don't want to get into slagging off Ange Postecoglou here, because I don't, right? I've said my piece about it. But what I do worry about is I want us to go on and win this trophy as much as anyone else, okay? Despite whatever I think about him. My worry is, should we go on and win it and Johan Lang remains, right? I worry that he's going to stay, right? Because I don't feel that his football is sustainable in a league environment, okay? In the Premier League. In a cup competition, the one-off games, is possible. And what I worry about is that he's given a large war chest, if we make the Champions League, to go out and spend, and we end up with a Ten Hag situation where he's given a massive kitty. He goes and spends the money, and come November, we're going through the same stuff again. Because let's be honest, right? Ange form is not a blip. You can stick your head in the sand, but, we've had 37 defeats since the 5th of November, 2023. And I just worry that if he is given this money and it doesn't work out, I hope it does, but if it doesn't work out, then we are going to be in a really poor situation. Mid-season, no manager. If it's been decided already, then listen, what better way to sign out? And I will stand there and I will apologise. He always wins in his second season. I will applaud him off, but I still do not think he's the man. Like we said before, he's the man before the man, Sean.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I don't change my mind on that, regardless of what happens with the Europa League. and I subscribe to most people's fears about that. But as I said 1,000 times, I think that I don't understand the debate. I really do not understand the logic, apart from, like, how do I say this? Like, I share the concerns that it would be a Ten Hag-esque type environment where you give him another season, or you just let him start the season, and then the league form ends up being similar, and then you get rid of him by Christmas anyway. And is there the risk and all that stuff? And I get all that stuff, but it's a very, very real and relevant concern. But
Can I just interject? Sorry, can I just interject? I don't want to interrupt you there, but do you think there's a possibility in Levy's head that he sees this through to give Ange that one more season to complete his contract, which will enable
Pochettino
to come at the end of the next season?
I think that's part of the plan. Also, you've got to throw in the new variable now. Now, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this guy, but this Van Kettersham, or whatever his name is, the new CEO, the ex-Arsenal guy that's coming in.
Vinnie,
yeah, it's clearly gonna mean the end of Scott Munn, and it might also mean the end of Johan Lang. New CEO means possibly new everything. There's no one comes into a job and wants to inherit everybody else's. I've been there 1,000 times. I left Australia to go to America under the promise, when I was working with Google, under the promise that I'd be able to shift and shape my own version of what they wanted from me. I get there to find out, no, actually, you're just here to kind of craft someone else's vision. And I was like, well, that wasn't what I was promised. That wasn't why I signed up and why I left my life in Australia. And it basically pissed me off the entire time I was there. I tried my best with their shitty model, but it's one of those things where you then clash heads. So, like, if you're bringing in someone who's a CEO, that person's remit is going to include, it always does, especially at the very highest CEO. You're going to come in and go, I want my people, I want my guy, I want my vision. I'm not inheriting and taking on somebody else's. So we haven't had a lot of chance to discuss this guy, Vinnie Van Kettersham, whatever his name is, mate.
My cousin Vinnie.
Yeah, we will do. We will do this week, hopefully, if you've got the time.
Yeah,
we'll go into detail on him and what that could look like. But for the purposes of the conversation, that's a variable that I think we have to include here. But just on the meritocracy of success, if you are someone who had no chance of winning the league anyway, in reality, and yet you're bought in and you end up achieving something that no other manager has done in my lifetime, basically my lifetime, 40 odd years, then not that the fans have any real say in this, although they do, obviously. Like, the influence of the fans, the energy of the fans does obviously lean into the mindset of the decision makers. But ultimately, what we're saying is top four wasn't a trophy, right? So people that were complaining about that, well, then trophies are the preeminent of what everyone wants in that section of the fan base. And then it turns out that you have a season where sustainable, consistent success in the league to get you to fourth, which would mean that you're winning more often than not. If that's not satisfactory, and then lifting the trophy that no one else has done in 40 odd years is also not enough, I think that Tottenham fans and Tottenham as a football club will be ridiculed. Not that I give a shit about the opinions of other people, but I think we look very, very, very disjointed in our expectations if you do not reward someone with another crack of the whip, even though I share the concerns that I don't necessarily think too much will change. The only other variable, mate, that I made on that pitch with you when we did that debate video a couple of, maybe last month, is that the idea of 19-year-old Lucas Berghvall, the idea of Archie Gray, I don't know if Mikey Moore will have enough minutes to be gifted a Europa League title winner. I think he probably would, right? Because he played in a couple of games, right? So, like, these 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds being Europa League winners at a team like Tottenham that has, as I said before, Harry Kane hasn't got as much success as a Tottenham player as any of those players will be, right? Neither would Teddy Sheringham, Sol Campbell.
History. That's what I'm saying. History makers, right? Now that creates an energy amongst the squad. That creates a wind in your sails vibe
that may just be the difference, whereby the belief in Ange's system is suddenly has an indelible mark in the minds of the players that are participating in next season. And you might just see that even with Ange Ball, you might just see a new resurged, new, incredibly confident version of Tottenham that can breeze past teams that this year have really struggled.
I think you're getting carried away, Sean. Let me say, I believe you're getting carried away here. A belief in Ange Ball. Last night, on Thursday night, we did not play Ange Ball.
Okay, well, I
understand. He came with a philosophy. He got it tactically correct. Okay, but Ange Ball is not a thing. We haven't seen Ange Ball for months. Flickers here and there, right? But we haven't seen it. Even with the full team, we haven't seen it. Okay. Last night was all hands to the pump. It was about grit. It was about determination and a will to win, right? And I just think, good luck to him if he wins, right? And he'll deserve the adulation should he win. But nothing should be taken away from the players who have been ridiculed and slagged off for all of the season for their part in it. Because I do believe that most of those players there rose to the occasion. I mean, Lucas Berghvall, I'll say it again, right?
Yeah.
When I went to QPR,
both of us, from the very first time we saw that, but both of us were like, this guy has. I mean,
my mate, who's a QPR fan, he took me to QPR pre-season, and I was going on about Berghvall. He said, "Mate, calm down, mate. He's playing at us, and we are dog shit, right? Okay, he's 18." I said, "No, he's special." And I bigged him up, and then of course Galatasaray happened, and I got pelters from all, but I kept the faith, and I just think we'll be lucky to keep him past 21 years of age. I can tell you that much.
Why?
Because I just think that everyone's coming calling.
Oh, well, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, like if he goes because he wants 120 million quid. But mate, if he wins a Europa League at 19 years and 100 days old, like what are we doing here? Like he will have a love for Tottenham Hotspur forever. By the way, did you see embrace? Did you see the embrace between Romero and Ange? You probably haven't, mate. Maybe you have on Twitter.
I have. I've seen it after. Yeah.
That embrace to me validates. We've had this conversation many times. Like when all the players are coming out saying we believe in Ange, we believe in. I'm not going to keep saying Ange Ball because you're right. We're now seeing different variations of it, and thank God, right? Thank God that he's not a one-trick pony, and that when he asks the team to set up a different way, that they can find it within themselves. Now you're right to question where was that against Wolves, where was that against Fulham, where was that against all these other teams. We've spoken a number of times around Tamworth. Well, obviously, and that's a problem, right? If I'm Daniel Levy, if I'm Ange Postecoglou, I'm going and hiring a local hockey pitch and playing or whatever, like finding a local AstroTurf pitch, and I'm dedicating 20% of our weekly training, maybe more, on so that we get absolutely comfortable with the exact replica of whatever that pitch is that's up in Bodo Glimt, because so many teams have gone up there. And let's be honest, playing away in Bodo Glimt in February, when it's a horrible cold, snow, Arctic Circle, pitch black at lunchtime, all that stuff, that's not nice. Playing there in, late April, early May is going to be, at least a little bit easier on the conditions, but the pitch is still going to be the pitch. And we struggled against Tamworth. We obviously didn't practice enough for that particular game. Anyway, I'm getting off the topic. Let me just round off. To me, when it comes to Ange, I just sit here and say, even though I share the concerns of every Tottenham fan that we haven't seen enough of what we saw on Thursday, and that yes, there's a very high likelihood that him winning it will double down on his temperaments, and his belief and stubbornness around all that stuff. But at the end of the day, he did pivot, he did change, and the players were prepared. It wasn't alien to them to do a bit more doggedness. If you can see more of that, more variation, and you saw from the players' reactions how much they were on board with Ange's celebration. It wasn't as you said before, in spite of him, it was alongside him, right? I think that if we go on and beat Bodo and then go to Bilbao and beat whoever it's going to be, United or Bilbao in the final, I think that has to be rewarded with next season. It doesn't mean that I think that it will necessarily be a success next season, but if you don't do it, then I don't know what we're doing here. I think it's entirely
because you've seen it. Because Sean, or you're going to stick a sticking plaster over a gaping wound where he had a little run. And let me tell you something, right, about the hugging. Okay, when Spurs, on the big games, how many of you sat at home by mistake hugged the mother-in-law or someone you didn't particularly like when that goal went in, right? Because you're in the moment. You hug anyone. I was fucking hugging strangers. I was hugging strangers who were kissing me. For God's sake, that's what happens because you're caught in the emotion of it all, right?
I hear you on that.
I was being hugged.
You're saying that there's nothing to take away from the game.
No. I'm not saying it wasn't genuine, but I said in the moment. To read into that, it's just love and whatever, But I'm telling you, right? You hug people in a moment of thing, and you think, oh my God, I mean, if I hugged my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, right? She's no longer here. She probably would have had a cardiac arrest on the spot, but I probably would have done had she been in the room. And that's my point. That's the point, right? I mean, everyone was hugging everybody. Everyone was hugging everybody. Look. I'm not going to get down on Ange because I'm there to support the team, right? And whatever I feel about him, I want us to win the trophy.
Keep talking.
Yeah, I want him to win the trophy. And, he was, he got it all right. He got it right. But I do believe those players, the Romeros, the Micky van der Vens and the like, their experience told in the end. Because I don't think that Eintracht Frankfurt team were out. I mean, look, what's the old the mafia thing?
Hang on, let me ask you.
Think you're out, just when you thought just when when you think you're out, they pull you back in, and that's Spurs. People had enough. I was going when people I told I was going to Frankfurt. They said, "Are you mad? How much more punishment can you get?" Right? And I said, "But I believe." Despite it all, that I'm going there and we're going to win. Otherwise, there'll be no point me going. I truly believe beforehand. I said before the game in my little video before the game that we would win. I believe we will win before, during, and after. And I believe we're going to get to the final. And I think we're going to play Bilbao. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, look, what I would say is, mate, is if Ange is is there any chance that Ange, the fact of the matter is that Ange has, but I've said 1,000 times on this channel with you that Ange talks out of both sides of his mouth with regards the tactics, right? The salesman that he is. I've said, how is it that he can dismiss the impact of injuries by saying injuries via training is not the reason because we don't train anymore, and yet still have the gall then to play systems that we're not prepared for, right? If you're paying attention, then it doesn't make any sense. But at the end of the day, we played a version of our football on Thursday night that if we employed that same version of football in the Premier League, we would have far better balance and far better positive 100%. Outcomes. 100%. We have a team, as a squad, is there a team? How many teams in the Premier League have got a better back four plus reserves than we do currently? I'd argue maybe 4 or 5, right? I don't think there's very many better than Micky van der Ven, than Romero, than Pedro Porro, than Jed Spence, Danzo as an alternate, young players coming in. You look in the midfield. Yes, we're still short of a man or two in the midfield. And I think that Ange doesn't yet necessarily know his best midfield three, although I think it's starting to become a little bit more clear to him. But are we sitting here and really suggesting that the guy is incapable of learning and that he will I don't give a shit to what happens on Monday, to be entirely honest. I don't care if we win or we lose. It'll
Well,
be
I
nice.
do. You see, that's the thing, Sean, right? There are a lot of people, right? Now, I'm going on Monday. He's already got he's got a built-in excuse already, right? He's saying, I've made 6 changes. I've had to make 6 changes, right? Now, he didn't need to tell everyone. I mean, I thought he doesn't like, there's a mole. Well, he's just molded himself by telling Nuno that he's making 6 frigging changes, right, to the team. I've been forced into it, rotation. This is a guy that said he can't rotate, even when he had his full strength team. He said he couldn't rotate. My point is, should we lose to Forest, who are on a bad run of form at the moment, then he will have a baked-in excuse. Now, we've got Liverpool, we've got Aston Villa, okay? We've got West Ham away. Are we saying that it doesn't matter so much that we just carry on losing and all these games? And now I want to win the trophy. And if you said to me, lose all those games, fair enough.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are realities to the situation whereby, like, you have to wrap Micky van der Ven in cotton wool until Bodo. You have to, right? Yeah. I don't want him to play so that we finish to get the points against Nottingham Forest, risk him getting a hammy so that we finish 14th rather than 15th, right? To me, it's nonsensical. And if he was to go and play that game and go, well, we got to treat every game like it's a cup final, that's just not true. The logic there doesn't make any sense, apart from an extra couple of £1 million that will come from a higher position in the league finish. But ultimately, everything hinges on the Europa League. Everything does. And if you're a gambling man, a poker player, you go all in and you fold your hand. You fold everything necessary. You fold semi-decent hands if you have to, waiting for the big one because you've got 10 big blinds left, which is what his career at Tottenham has. He has 10 big blinds left, and that looks like the Europa League final, right? That's it. So for me, I get it. I'm going on Monday as well. I don't want to sit there and say, like, oh, give a shit about that because I paid my money, right? The season ticket, you paid your money. You expect your team to be put out there. But I think that you've got Kevin Danzo who can play. You've got players that can come in and rotate. You're right about the whole thing. He shouldn't have said what he's doing. He shouldn't be complaining about.
Well, Archie Gray will play. I reckon that Archie Gray will probably come in. Spence will come in. I do think, though, that he's used a lot of players. I mean, Archie played every single game because he had no choice. And he was quick to dump him the second he came back. Jed Spence has been outstanding, right? But he didn't waste 2 seconds dropping him, right? And I like you, I thought Solanke was looking tired. He could have come off with 10 minutes to go and Richie would have given him up. And Spence, again, with Porro to, like you said, shore us up at the back. But again,
one thing I have to just quickly inject on, by the way, I've not been accused of, I have, from my own horse's mouth here, called out Richie for caring about himself, number 1, Brazil, number 2, and Tottenham somewhere else down the pattern. When I saw him celebrating Solanke's penalty, when I saw him more pumped up, more joyful than most on the bench, it warmed my heart a little bit to see Richie still 100% behind the team, because he probably knows deep down he's not going to participate too much if Solanke's fit in the semis or in the final.
Well, he's been there. He's been there just to say, he's there every week on that bench celebrating every goal, regardless. Even when he was injured, he was playing, right? He was there. Which
is he fully fit now? Is he back fit?
Yeah, he's fit now. He's fit now. But when I'm going to say fully fit, he's not 100% match fit. So you can't not play for 3 months and then play 90 minutes. Okay.
Will you see him against Forest?
Yes. And I think, but again, he should have played 15, 20 minutes last night to ease him in, because God forbid something happened to Solanke, Richie hasn't had enough minutes. So that's why I think, he needs to be playing 20 minutes, 30 minutes, what have you, in the game. I thought it was quite fitting, actually, that the last person to touch the ball last night before the whistle went was Destiny Udogie, because, he was outstanding. He was everywhere on that pitch last night. And, when he took that ball and he took it into the corner down the flank and the whistle went and he pulled up his shorts, because you could see he was knackered. His thighs were knackered. It was a great moment. It was fitting that he ended up with the ball. I felt the last moments, But I can't sit here, Sean, and watch us. Mind you, I've got to tell you, have you seen the result tonight? Aston Villa 4, Newcastle 1. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Bit of a
And
shock.
because of our success in the Europa League, 5th place gets the Champions League spot next year.
Yeah, what a fight that is. I mean, the season might be over for the title, more or less. But
there's like 7 teams that can still qualify for Champions League. You know, it's amazing.
Correct. I think the top 8 could possibly go into Europe. Unfortunately, that won't be us.
Well, I don't know what happens. Like, does it become 6 teams if Tottenham or Man United win the Europa League, and then on top of that, the 5? Does it become 6 teams, or does it? I don't know the rules, to be honest. But
look, so much at stake. This is a massive sliding door moment in our history and our present history. If we go on and we win this trophy, everything is forgotten, right? Because you're not going to look behind you. It will be a black mark on the history book, but it would be a gold star on the history book for winning a trophy, being in the Champions League, 30 events at the stadium, massive a financial behemoth with the 30 events coming in, plus the Champions League money. Tottenham will be going to another dimension financially. If we lose, no European football, the possibility of stars leaving for European football, the difficulty to come in, a lack of budget to spend, right? So this is a massive moment.
Sliding doors moment in Tottenham Hotspur's
massive sliding doors moment. So from that point of view, everything should be geared up really for the final, this game and then the final. I'm not dismissing Bodo Glimt, but the fact that they're coming to us without their main striker is definitely something which, and Lazio, who have been really struggling of late, banged 3 goals past them. So let's see what happens.
We've got a lot to do. How much time have you got, mate, before you got to go?
Maybe another 5. I've got to get dressed.
I
can't go out dressed like this. It's not fancy dress.
You can, mate. You can if you want, mate. After this week, let me ask this: does the Daniel Levy? You said that when you were there, the Levy chant was loud and proud. What happens to the Daniel Levy movement, the change for Tottenham movement, all that stuff, if we lift the trophy?
Well, I think it's naturally going to change anyway, because while you've been away, I've been talking about Cherrington, Paul Cherrington, that's come in on the board, the former head of Citibank, with his history of finance to represent ENIC, Vinnie, our cousin Vinnie, who's come from Arsenal, who's courted by some top private equity firms. He was courted by the Saudis, by Newcastle, through the Saudis, and he's chosen to come to Spurs due to his relationship. I personally think, due to the fact that the capital-intensive projects that are still to be done, i.e. the hotel, White Webs, and the extension to the medical and training facilities at the current ground at Hotspur Way, they need the money. And these guys have been brought in to add credibility to the board, because currently I don't believe that Donna Cullen and Colcott and the like have credibility, because it's like Nero surrounding himself with yes people. And I think these 2 guys have got enormous credibility. Whatever anyone thinks, I don't want to hear about Arsenal fans said he was shit, Vinnie. He wasn't shit, right? He's presided over many positive things at that club, and he's extremely well respected in the game and out the game. And along with him and Cherrington, I think things are afoot to bring in investment and therefore potentially change. And if Vinnie comes in, the fact that Fabio was doing the walking the corridors of Tottenham Hotspur at the Southampton game, that if he comes back and brings his back, I think we will be back on track.
Paratici, I've been so quiet. I haven't had the internet for like the last week. So is Paratici still not done yet? Then where he's going?
It's not been announced, but let's see where we go. But I can see a scenario where we're on the depths. We are so in the mud as a club right at the moment. We're the butt of every joke. You know, every Paddy Power, every weekend, there's almost another Paddy Power joke video, which makes me laugh. You know, we've got to laugh at our own situation. But should we win this trophy and these guys come in with finance, Europe, Champions League football, 30 events, massive money coming in, new finance coming in, right? A new manager, a top manager, hopefully, right? This club goes in a different direction. Otherwise, if it doesn't happen, I don't know. But I think change is afoot with Spurs, and this could be a massive rocket booster for us should we win this trophy. And it is possible. This is our best chance in 41 years to win it. It was always going to be a tall order against Liverpool, I felt at the time.
Yeah.
They were there though. We could have done it. We never turned up. We have to turn up. If we get beaten by Bodo Glimt, then, you know, I'll order him the taxi.
Yeah. Listen, Johnny, I'll let you go, mate. I'm going to carry on because I haven't had a chance to chat for a while. So I want to carry on talking about Tottenham.
No worries, mate.
So I'll let you jump off,
guys. Just get ready for another 3 hours of.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put the link out. So if anyone wants to come in, here you go, guys. I'll put the link out. If anyone wants to come in, Johnny, mate, where can people find you, buddy?
Johnny H 3232 and Insta Talking Tottenham 1882. Give us a follow there. I post like videos and stuff from all the games and all the trips. Where I can't do it on Twitter. I'm
about to transfer after this show. I'll transfer make you primary owner of Football Inc. and then I'll walk you through how to set that stuff.
Oh well, we'll get that going. And listen, guys, thanks for listening to us. And listen, it's all good, right? You know, I've blocked out, right, whatever's gone before this season, and there's been some shocking things. You know, like traveling up and down the country to Liverpool, to Wolves, to all these places and watching us not turn up has been really, really hard. But Thursday night, all that pain was worth it for that moment. And to all the guys that grabbed me and kissed me, please don't do it. But listen, thanks a lot. And Shawnee, we'll get together and we'll do one on what's tomorrow going on with the board and everything. Yeah.
All right, buddy. Cheers, Johnny. See you, mate. Take care, buddy.
Say bye to everybody.
Cheers, mate. Bye. There you go, guys. It's Johnny done. We're going to carry on going. We've got Adrian in the background. Adrian, if I'm going to I've got to press pause for a second. I'll tell you what. I'll bring you in, Adrian. If you want to play host for just a couple of minutes, I'm busting for a wee. And then, guys, the link is there. Anyone else wants to come on in. We could talk about what happened on the night. We can talk about what's going on with the football club, whether or not Ange is the right guy for going forward. I'm happy to keep going for another hour or so because I feel like I've missed you lot, and an hour's just not enough to get.
And we've missed you, Sean. You keep going AWOL.
Oh, mate. I appreciate you, Adrian, mate. It's not through choice. I promise you, my man. It's not through choice. I've had.
I know.
I've had interactions with the police and all sorts of things going on with all this crap. So it's a wild one. Adrian, if I could just hand over to let you host for 2 minutes, I'll be back in 20 seconds, okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Hi, guys. Hi in the chat. We got Danny's in here. Kyriakou. Why aren't you coming on, Danny? I ain't seen you on the show for a while. Let's look through this chat. Checkmate. Arteta. Yeah. Reese. Checkmate. Inner height. Familiar face or name. Totspur. Oh, Zookeeper Tom's in here as well. Hello, Tom. A fellow admin on Spurs Dial, Zookeeper Tom. Pian. Cantab. Yeah, great result. I should imagine everyone's still buzzing from Thursday. It was a really good performance, wasn't it? I'm sure Sean will get into it. I don't want to say too much now. Otherwise, I'll be in danger of repeating myself. Checkmate. Hi, checkmate. Lord Rodney, he's everywhere. You're like me, Rodney. You're everywhere. Danny, Luke Price, Wolves, Daniel Field, Kieran Lead, Sandeep Patel, Keith Dennis, Wolves F1, Tom, again, Totspurs sent Shawnee a nice super chat, donation, Jack Lane, checkmate, Right.
Right, boys and girls, we're back.
I'll just say hello to the chat. That's all, Sean. I don't want to say anything because I don't know what you're going to ask me.
Well, I'm going to ask you.
Oh, and Eugene's here, and he's in the UK for the Forest game. Eugene is. He's he's going to the game. I think he's over with his dad and his son. Big up, Eugene.
Big up all.
J Marks, good here. Thanks for
there's the link, boys and girls. There's the link. One more time. I'll post it one more time. I'll have to keep posting it because I can't get to the pinned comment. Adrian, talk to me, mate. Thursday night, was it the best performance of Ange Postecoglou's tenure in terms of setting the team up in a bit of an absent his usual style to get the job done? I mean, it was brilliant in its simplicity, but it was very much alien to what we'd expect from Ange, right? So, talk me through what you thought of it, buddy.
Well, till we get the goal, Sean, you can't really read his mind, can you? Once you get the goal, you've got something to hang on to, and it was very close to half time, wasn't it? Yeah. So then I thought the second half performance was excellent. I mean, even like the ones we like to moan about, your Johnson and all that, and even Tell, I thought Tell looked better in a Spurs shirt as well. And he gives you a bit more, he would give you that physicality that Sonny's not going to give you on the left when you need to dig in that side of the pitch. So, like, thought he was good. I mean, but I'd have given the man of the match to Bentancur, but I thought the last two games I've seen Udogie, he's got his mojo back now. He's got his mojo.
You're another one that everyone thought the Bentancur was sensational. It's so weird because I just first half I was like, I don't know what I didn't see that everyone else saw. I just felt like he was plugging holes that. I mean, look.
What he was trying to do is get forward and relieve pressure. That's why he was so good. A lot of the other time we did hit what we don't normally do. We hit aimless balls forward just to relieve pressure. But we were very confident of being able to mop it up. But it meant they had to get set and come again. It was taking seconds off the clock. So we did it quite a few, like just aimless long balls forward in that second half. But I thought Bentancur was exceptional. And I actually thought that Berghvall, we're going to call him Berghvall, I'm not bothered. But he came back and they formed more of a midfield pivot to me. And I thought they were outstanding. I bet if you look at his stats for tackling and possession, I bet they're brilliant. Romero was excellent. VDV was good. He was good. But Udogie, I mean, like, to me, you either give it a Bentancur or you give it to Udogie, I think, the man of the match. That's my opinion. But, like, look, there were 5. You could have given it to Romero. I mean, so there were options there, weren't they? It was a solid defensive performance and a clean sheet, Sean, a clean sheet.
Well, I mean, this is it, mate. To me, I mean, you said that you thought Micky van der Ven was okay. I think that what you have in Micky van der Ven is that get out of jail free card. Like when that ball went through after, I think it was about 12 or 13
minutes when he made that sliding tackle, yeah.
So easy from a long ball from the keeper. And if it wasn't for Van der Ven's pace on a ridiculously soaking, soppy, horrible wet night, that pitch, if he mistimes that challenge by half an inch, right? Not only do we give away a pen, but we're down to 10 men, and you lose your talisman defender, if you like, in the uniqueness of his skill set. But he gets it spot on. And as I said earlier with Johnny, I don't think that Micky van der Ven is someone that I usually credit for being that strong in the air, but. In fact, I'll get some of the. I still can get the stats up from the game and look at the specifics. But I just thought he was extraordinary on the night. I thought. Listen, this has to be this is credit to Ange, because a lot of people were like, well, and Johnny says it all the time. If we win the Europa League, it's in spite of Ange.
We're winning it, Sean. We are winning it.
We are winning it. 100%. We're winning it, mate. 100%.
I had a tenner at 9 to 2. I don't throw bets around like that for nothing, right?
I bought my ticket. When did I buy my ticket? Back in, was it January? I bought the ticket. I said, I don't care, even because I need a break from life as well. Just I need to get away for a few days. And so even if it turns out that it was Bodo Glimt against, Lazio or whoever, and Man United, I'd still go and see it anyway. But
I don't know how many points you need. I've only got 223. So, I mean, like Spurs season ticket points, but I don't mean that. Mind you, it depends. Actually, I was wrong. And my friend John from the XG's room, Williams, he said it's 53,000. It does hold that. I looked at an old link.
Yeah, but you only get 20,000. I think each team's only going to get 20,000, right? So,
and we got 42,000 season ticket holders, and that's without corporate. Yeah, exactly 8,000 right. Corporate. So, I don't know if they'll do a lottery or they'll do it on the number of points. I don't know.
It's always points, isn't it? It's always the most loyal.
I don't think 223 would be enough. Anyway, I didn't renew my passport, so if I get a ticket, everyone's going to be my best friend.
You're definitely not going to go regardless, no?
No. I mean, look, I've seen us win 2 Europa Cups, right? At White Hart Lane in 72 and 84. So don't want to get greedy. Been to Wembley, seen us win the League Cups, and things like that. So
yeah, same.
No, I'd rather someone else go anyway. If I don't think I'm getting. I've got a pretty else chance of getting a ticket. But
the only final I didn't get a chance to go to was Real Madrid in my lifetime. I went to Cardiff to see Blackburn. We lost that one. That took me 6 hours to get home. The traffic on the M4 then was just horrendous. I went to Leicester. I went to Chelsea, United in 2011. I've been to nearly every one of the finals we've got to. Just didn't get to Real Madrid.
I wonder what the standard price of a ticket will be for that final. Probably about 120 quid, but you probably have to sell it for 10 grand.
Well, like I say, yeah, I paid £1,000 for my ticket already. I don't even know where it will be. It could be Rose Ed in the stadium for all I know. But that's even if it's legit, we'll find out. But yeah, look. I mean, my point being that I feel like this whole Ange debate is going to rattle on, mate. But to me, are you on the same page as I am, or are you on the page of the fans that say, look, even if he does win it, he's not cut out for Premier League, and this will be a one-off anyway. Therefore, we can't go through a season like this next year, and that's the inevitable. And I can understand the logic, but I just think that if you do happen to win the Europa League, you've got a whole bunch of young players that also have the credibility of a Europa League success, and 80% of our squad are 23 or under. It's an incredible accolade for those people to have. The confidence they will have, the amount of team spirit that will come from it, the transformation in the belief as Tottenham Hotspur players will levitate them to levels that I don't think we've seen, and I think it will be such an absolute boon and wind in our sails that. To me, I don't think you can possibly sack Ange Postecoglou if he wants to go because he's had enough, right? Because he doesn't like the fans, it doesn't like the reaction with the fans, the relationship. He seems like a stubborn guy. John's in the house. Welcome, John.
Hello, John. Hi, John.
If he's if he's like, he seems like a very proud Australian man who believes in his system and he's happy to have a fight back, and all that stuff. And that's cool. It's fine. Like I say. I love Australia.
He doesn't need the money, does he?
He doesn't need the money, and he'll get another job if he wins. Especially if he wins the Europa League, right? He'll get another job, no doubt about it. But to me, I love Australian people. I spent the happiest 2 years of my life in Australia. I miss it dearly. So I met a lot of people that were proud, stubborn Australian people, just like him. And I got no issue with them at all. But to me, is him winning the Europa League going to be? There's so many ways you can look at it, boys. Right? Like you can go, well, he's going to double down now and say, you see, I fucking told you. Now shut up and let me do my thing. And it might work because you might now have a team of players that believe in it as well. Or it might be more of the same because he isn't going to change because he's been validated by the success that he said indirectly that he was going to bring.
I don't see a point. He'll walk if he got a compensation packet and he won the trophy. He might want to walk. He might agree with the club and might want to go anyway. And then they might agree a disclosure and a compensation packet for him to leave because he's got about 10 mil left on 2 years, isn't he? So he could go then, depending if the club have had talks. They might put feelers out. I don't think they've had talks with anyone. And the list is so uninspiring, all of them. Now, I've got a list of 12 in my group and of managers we link with, and I know we've been linked with Areola and Frank and Silva and Poch I mean, the only one I really like on that list is Xavi. He played 767 games for Barcelona, managed that team under financial constraints, brought Lamau through and youngsters through. Because that's my fear with the youngsters, Sean. My fear is like a new manager will just ignore them. I mean,
that's why you got to pick the right manager, right?
Well, this is why I would, if he wins it or if he doesn't win it and he goes, if he goes, it'll be because they either sack him or not. But if they don't, and the intention is, like you alluded to earlier in the show, of keeping him for a season before Poch becomes available, I can live with that. I can, because there's no way we're going to be as worse in the league as we are this season, no matter who comes in.
No chance.
And that list.
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's such a big list. You're seeing now, mate. Just quickly, you are seeing like the reason why everyone doesn't want Ange most of the time is because it's like his game has been figured out. But like his game is changing. His game is changing, which is good.
The fact there's such a big long list of managers, 12 that I've got, I can't remember all offhand at the moment, just tells you like there aren't really any outstanding candidates because you wouldn't have such a big list. It would be a short list already, and there isn't. I get why people like Areola and all that, but like these guys have only.
I don't think he's going to leave.
They're only cutting their teeth anyway. Frank, practical manager, probably would do a job. You know, they would all do a job. You know, and then if we want to go young, we'll go and get Kieran McKenna of Ipswich. They'll get relegated, ex-Spurs coach or someone like that, or go for someone unknown. Surely there's who are the best managers in Argentina and Brazil? You know, do we know any of these that manage these clubs?
What was his name? Masado? No, Gallardo. Marcelo Gallardo was the guy.
I'll take Bielsa over some of those on that list, Sean. You know what I mean? I mean, like, because at least he made
Bielsa's just another version of Ange, though, isn't he? He's just a kamikaze type of manager, right?
He'll kill the players in no time.
Ancelotti, it wasn't on my list because he's still at Real Madrid, even though they've gone out. There's someone else for his Jaggers arse. Fair enough, mate. But he's not on my list. He could be a very outside possibility. If he come up, you'd go for him, right? But he might. He's always been linked with that Brazil job, and he manages job, isn't he? The national side. So he might just leave Real Madrid himself.
Just quickly, Totspur 63. Is that Lukey? I'm not sure. I think that might be Lukey. I'm not sure though. He can't make Monday. Thank you very much, man. Have a beer on me, guys. I really appreciate that, buddy. Really, really do. Very nice, man. Thank you so much. I'm going to go up on Monday for the first time in a while. As long as I can get my ticket onto a dumb phone, it'll be still using this bad boy. Nightmares for sure. And Loves Music saying, win the cup, Ange gets another year. Poch after the World Cup. That's what I'd like to see as well. Mm-hmm. The problem is with that whole rhetoric is, you know, you do need, I think you absolutely need a manager that's got a track record of bringing in youth. John, let me ask you this. It doesn't matter anymore because sort of we've moved past it, but was the right solution, and obviously depending on what happens with the Europa League, the right solution, if we win the Europa League, was to stick with Ange anyway, but someone like a Graham Potter, who was available before he went to West Ham, you could have brought him in January when we were still in all the cups and say, have a 2-year contract with an option, right? But with the likelihood being that you just see out the season and next season, and then you relieve him of his duties, unless he does very well, you relieve him in time for Pochettino to turn in the summer of 26. Because Graham Potter's got a wonderful track record of developing youth, hasn't he?
Yes, but the rumor was before, when he was at Brighton, he turned us down. That was what the rumor was a couple of years ago. No one knew why, and then obviously he went to Chelsea. Can you put Invert the Tings comment up? Sorry, I just chuckled at that. Sir,
that isn't a QR code ticket; it's the snake game. Do you know what? I've enjoyed playing Snake again for the.
You've gone back 25 years, have you? That was the thing. Back in the day, it was like, oh, what game have you got on your new phone, on your new Nokia?
Yeah, I've been playing. I was at the doctor the other day, and I was playing Snake in the waiting room, and I don't know how to turn the profile of the sound off. I've turned it off on so I've got it to the point where every time you push a button, it doesn't go ding. But when you play Snake, every time you change direction on the Snake, it goes ding, ding, and it makes a horrible noise. And when you eat the apple or whatever, and the other patients weren't particularly impressed. But you know what? I was on for a high score, so you have to wait until I lose before I turn it off. Sorry, guys.
But to answer your question, I think with Potter, he hasn't really pulled up any trees at West Ham, but it is early days.
Yeah.
It's a really tough one. I mean, I think he had to stick with him for the time being and just see how it goes. Obviously, Ange had the argument of the injuries. Personally, even if we win the Europa League, unless the next 6 league games, which we're all expecting us to write off anyway, and the next couple of cup games, we see significant change that he's not, that was quite a change, wasn't it? The way we played the other night. It was, what you say to kids, if in doubt, kick it out and things like that. We weren't mucking them out of the back. It was a bit more like the performance at Man City away, but then we went back to type and we still muck about at the back. So it really depends on the club. Will have a conversation with him. I was told 5-6 weeks ago that the phrase that was used was noose round the neck from somebody senior at the club to a friend of mine. And I just think he might, well, like Adrian said, he walked out of the Aussie, was it the Australian team he walked out when he got into the World Cup?
Yeah.
Because he didn't like things. He's obviously not had a great time with the fans. So I can see them doing a deal. This new guy, Vinnie, could well have lots of ideas of top coaches. He obviously been around at Arsenal for a long time, did a very good job on the face of it. So for me, I think even if we win, it's probably his time to move. Unless he has literally gone, do you know what? I've made a load of mistakes here. I can see what I've done. I should have done this. And he convinces the board that he will adapt and he will change and he won't be so set and regimented in his style of play.
Yeah, the problem he had though, even when players were coming back, people then expected like the players that come back to all hit the ground running, and it doesn't always happen. It can take 5 or 6 games. By then, our season had gone past the tipping point, John, for any sort of recovery, no matter what he does to the end of the season. It wouldn't matter. What I want to see is growth, and I want to see youngsters given a chance now because if you didn't get Europe next year, you're losing 8 games you could play youngsters against the weaker opposition, and you're not getting that. So. And I want to see Odegaard, Tell, and Mikey Moore start getting half hours in these games, right? It's even if it's second halves, if not even starting, Tell's got it all to prove because we're not paying that sort of money for him. He should be a loan to buy without an obligation to buy, really. And the fee's got to come down as well. He has looked better each time I've seen him. I can't fault his attitude. He's got a really good attitude.
He works so hard, right? I talk about this all the time about workhorses and show ponies, and I don't think we have enough on the width of the workhorse who can still be forward and then dazzle, right? It's a very you want someone who works hard, who can pull the plow behind them with their work ethic, but then at the right time turn into a racehorse. You don't have it in Brennan Johnson. I don't think I haven't seen enough of Odegaard to know whether he works that hard. But with Matthias Tell, that guy runs and runs and runs all day long. He'll get back and help out Udogie. Dominic Solanke is absolutely sensational with his work ethic. Like anybody that doubts the value. I had this debate with Johnny on the phone before the show. We didn't actually get into it. He still thinks that 60 million quid for Dominic Solanke is outrageous. I'm sitting there thinking that his argument is outrageous. I think Dominic Solanke's value is so unbelievably proven in his ability to win the ball and work hard. The only thing I would ask of others around him is that when he presses, he needs others to press with him, because if one person presses and no one else does, it's a wasted energy. It's a massive waste of energy, right? You need everyone to work in the press. It's a unison thing. It's an all or nothing thing. And there needs to be triggers, things that happen that needs to be worked on the training ground. But he wants to work and press all day long anyway, which I think is to his detriment, because he'll then find himself out of position in transition, or he'll find himself tired when he could have preserved energy. But you can't in any way, shape or form fault his effort. And I think when you look at the wings and you look at Matthias Tell, and this is where I want to go with this, guys. This next segment is about Sonny. Like, to me, I don't think we get through that game with Sonny on the pitch, because the Sonny that I've seen of late, he doesn't work as hard. He's not as scary as Matthias Tell is at the moment, even though Matthias Tell isn't particularly scary. But Sonny doesn't have it. And I love Sonny. I love him to pieces. But if Sonny's fit, he plays, right, because of his history. But I think that's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. And I if I'm honest, if you gave me the option right now, would I rather Sonny be unavailable for the rest of the season versus be available and therefore play and start against Bodo Glimt? I'd choose the former because I just don't see enough from him to think that he does enough off the ball or on the ball to warrant his place. But because of who he is, he gets his place without question.
When you're looking at Sonny at his best, right, well, because he hasn't looked good on the eye test, his numbers is good. He's got something like 11 goals, 11 assists this season, right? But when you look at his best, Sean, what we do when we're in a slow build-ups, we get the ball out to the wings, whether it's Johnson or Son. They've usually got their back to the goal with two players on them. They've either got to beat the player on a half turn or pass the ball backwards. And they normally always pass it backwards and take the safe option. When you see the best of Sonny is when he's running onto the ball. When we're away to Ipswich, Archie Gray hit that long ball through to him to run on, and he gets the assist. In the other goal, he runs on from a Bentancur through ball. Brilliant through ball from Bentancur. He gets the assist. That's where Johnny's run. He's not a stand a player up from a dead start and go at him. He's not an Eden Hazard or a Gareth Bale. He's not that got that instant acceleration, and he has lost the afterburners. I mean, he has lost the afterburners that he used to have, but he's still a good finish with both feet. And I know we've had a poor season. I know every player's received justified criticism, but I don't think he's done yet. He had that groin injury and he had the operation last season come back. I still didn't think he looked right. And now he's been playing with his foot injury, right? So, and when he's not quite on it, you know when Sonny's not on it because he blasts the ball over the bar, doesn't he? Instead of even keeping it down, like, you know, which shows he's snatching at things, like, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's done. I mean, he is a squad player. But then you look at the team, right? If you said, what is the now down first 11? We haven't got one. You've got about 6 players you could say, Decky, VDV, Romero, Vicario, right? 4, you know.
Oro, Vicario.
I think the midfield.
No, I'm saying, like, if they were nailed on. Basically, what we are as a squad. Normally, when you've got a really good team, you can nail down 11 players. We can't do that because they're squad players. David Harris was right saying about Solanke, right? 65 million, right? I mean, he really is a squad player. When you compare him to strikers we've had in the past, right? I'm not including Kane and Son.
What do you mean? What do you mean he's a squad player?
Well, he's not the finished article as a striker. He's not a make it happen striker, is he? He got that one Kanish goal when he beat 2 players on the edge of the penalty area and slotted it in the corner. I like players that move, players with vision that move the ball quickly, that make things happen. That's what I look for on the videos. When people say, "What are you looking for?" They always look good in the videos. Yeah, but I'm looking for them. What do they do? You know, do they make things happen, or are they waiting for people to set them up? You know, yeah. So. And he's not that. Richarlison's not that. I'm saying he's got better close control than Richarlison. He'd probably be on his bike. So, I mean, but there's a shortage of number 9s out there. Gyökeres is doing it in Portugal. Can he do it in the league? He couldn't do it at Coventry.
He's not coming to Tottenham.
No, we ain't spending. Well, unless it's, I don't know who is out there that he could spend. I mean, that Ekitike looked a decent player, didn't he, for Frankfurt? But then this always happens when we get a team that plays against them. We end up praising the player up, and I don't know what his stats are like, or don't even know how old he is.
Ekitike's a phenomenal player, but he's not coming to Tottenham. He's going to go to, he'll go somewhere that's guaranteed Champions League football.
It's not that I'm slating the squad. There's a lot of talent in our squad. It's just that players in that squad, young players have been brought in to develop, like we're a training school, and there's already young players in there that before them that are developing as well. You know, and we didn't do it. We didn't bring in enough oven-ready players in it. Slanky was an oven-ready player, I'll give you that, but others weren't. He was the only one we brought in the summer, and everyone knew we needed another left back, and that haunted us with Udogie's injury till Spence started coming in the side.
Yeah, but now you've got this, like, John. Like, are we? I mean, I don't really want to take the conversation down the what do we need in the summer route, but like, I disagree with you, Adrian. I look at the squad and I think that the starting 11 is all but set, apart from 3 positions. One of them is in the 6 role, I bet you everyone seems to rave about Bentancur recently. I don't think he is a sensational 6 at all. One is right wing. I don't like Brennan Johnson, but don't know if Udogie is ready, and a Decky on the wide right. Do you have what do you do with Maddison or Decky, whatever? That kind of is a bit of a concern. But for me, like Lucas Berghvall is nailed on for me in every game. I think the guy's absolutely sensational. And the only other position is, which I think is not it's not a problem position. It's a good headache to have. Is it Porro and Udogie, or is it Udogie and Spence, or is it Spence and Porro? And that's a good headache, not a bad headache, because of the quality of those 3 players and their adaptability. I think that we have our centre back positions. Our first choice are obviously Romero and Van der Ven, but I have absolutely no concerns with Kevin Danso. I think he's a no-nonsense player that has been a real revelation coming in. I think he's had a fantastic start to life at Tottenham, and I struggle to find a Tottenham fan, no matter how miserable they are, to find a problem with him. I think that Dom Solanke's the obvious first choice in the 9, with Richalison obviously coming off the bench if necessary. I'm not a fan of Richalison. I'd rather sunset him, but like I said, I acknowledge his passion, and I appreciated seeing his reaction to the goal that was scored by the guy that's taking the minutes that he thinks he deserves. So I applaud that kind of buy-in. But on the left-hand side, I just think that for me, Matisse Tell now should start ahead of Sonny in the big game. But that's it. I think that apart from that, the 11 for me is picked. It's pretty.
Yeah, but the point is, that's good that you could pick an 11, right? I could pick an 11 as well out of that lot, but you can't play them in every game, and that's when you show the lack of depth. I mean, if you
I don't think we have the lack of depth, though. I don't think we have the lack of depth.
On that point, then let's take Monday's game, right? Just midfield. Maddison won't play and Son won't play, guaranteed, right?
Okay.
We don't know if Decky can go a full match now. So,
okay,
you've got Bentancur, whether you play him again with Berghvall again, and you've got Sarr and you've got Bissouma.
Yeah, that's fine. Is that a problem? Is against Nottingham Forest at home is a team that looks like Vicario, Spence, just for argument's sake, Archie Gray, Danso, and Porro. And in the midfield 3, Bentancur, Sarr, and Maddison, Sonny on the left, Udogie on the right, and Richarlison up top. Is that a horrendous team? And that's an entire second 11. Is that a horrendous team? I don't think it is.
But you're not.
I think the problem is.
But you're not going to have the option Monday. Go on, John.
So the problem is they're just not used to playing in the system together because of the way he's rotated. It hasn't. And there's been so many injuries. And then they've been flogged a little bit. I mean, go back to Bentancur. Bentancur hasn't been the player he was since before the injuries, but he has been better recently. I thought in the home leg against Frankfurt, defensively he was excellent. Thought he was filling the, slotting in, finding the gaps that were there, getting the ball away. He did a really good job there. I agree with you. So I'm going to go back a little while. The Sonny thing. Not only is he older, he's 33 in July, and his dad, as we know, his dad works in really hard outside club training, so there's only so long that you can sustain that. But also, he's lost his biggest asset, which was Harry Kane. How many times did Kane find him? And he would play on the shoulder, and Kane knew how to find him. And now he's playing out on the wide, getting chalk on his boots. He's always going to struggle. So there's a number of issues that it's the way that Angie's deploying him. And also, I mean, Solanke is good at passing the ball, but we don't have the players that necessarily suit him now. And now that he's older, it's even harder to make him effective. Udogie, like you say, Sean, it's still early days. We've seen some promising signs, but early days. I agree. Tell needs to play, because if we want to make this deal, we need to know he's good enough.
Yeah.
Because we need to see enough. Now, I thought he was decent.
This idea that we don't have any depth, right? I've just named a second 11, right? In fact, I won't even use Archie Gray. I'll pivot Archie Gray forward. And this is one of the £40 million player. But Jed Spence, Ben Davies, Kevin Danso, and Porro, Vicario behind, Bissouma, Pape Sarr, and Maddison, Tell, Udogie, Richalison. That's an entire second 11. That is an entire B team, if you like. Not that I want to use that word, but that is not our first team. And yet that has been our first team plenty of times. And most of those players were at some point, and that doesn't even include Archie Gray. That doesn't even include some of the other players that we've got, that Micky Moores or whoever's, right, knocking about. This idea that we don't have depth, I think that team that I've just named is still a, like, give or take a mid-table first 11 team. It's better than Fulham's first 11. It's better than Brentford's first 11. It's better than, like, you can make an argument to say that, and that's our second choice player in every position, and yet that to me is still a first 11 that is strong enough to be able to beat Nottingham Forest. I think it's better than Nottingham Forest 11, by the way. Nottingham Forest is just set up, like you say, John, to your point, with a brilliant familiarity of the system, right? They know the system. There's two different conversations there. It's familiarity with the system and confidence in it versus the quality of the individual. But the quality of our second rotational team is more than good enough. This argument that Tottenham don't have depth is waffle, in my opinion. It's
just the quality of the depth, though, Sean. I mean, if you're not going to play that 11 consistently, and we've just seen a marked improvement in the midfield because the three midfielders have been playing together regularly. So they're actually, we had a bit of cohesion there in that midfield with Bentancur, Berghvall and Maddison, right? They've played together, in 3 games now, right? And it's starting to show. And we haven't been able to do this season. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying these players aren't quality, but to show more, they need to be playing a bit more regularly and showing that they do it. I mean, Bissouma's not stepped up, has he? How many chances? Terrible. Right? How many chances has he got? I mean, we've persisted with Udogie. I love the player. I'm glad to see he's getting his mojo again because he's been poor this season, right? So, and he did start the season with an injury. He didn't get a proper pre-season, blah, blah. But, it's not the question. I don't think the squad's got quality players. I'm more comfortable. I mean, how many times when we've made changes and we've come unstuck, the fan base have gone, So this is what I'm on about. Are you confident? I mean, it's like going away in Europe and playing Galatasaray and teams like that. You're playing Danger up front, fair enough, want to see the kid play. It's having confidence in the team when you've played a different team virtually before and they've gone out and won, and then this makeshift team goes out and loses. And then, so, I mean, it becomes, I think there'll be lots of changes Monday. And I'm still predicting we're going to win, but, and we'll see. I mean, I want all the players to do well, but I mean, I just think in midfield, if Bentancur...
I think Ange doesn't know his best midfield yet, but I think it's starting to emerge, right? Like Berghvall is the first name on that midfield team sheet for me. John, I think
it's 3 from 4. I think it's Maddison, Kulu, Berghvall and Bentancur, and that's his 4. And Bentancur, John, he played ever so well away at Brentford when we won there 2-0. I mean,
I was running a marathon, so I missed it.
Unsung, he's a bit of an unsung hero in games, and people say hang about, and I think hang about. He was winning balls and keeping it simple and all that. No, love Berghvall. I mean,
did you at least have the audio on in your headphones when you were running the marathon, mate?
So actually, to be fair, I finished the marathon at kickoff time, the same as I did Brighton marathon. So I missed the Southampton game, but there's no signal down on Brighton seafront. So I had to wait till my wife had finished, and then we went up and we were trying to get a taxi. I still couldn't get signal. Eventually,
you didn't run with your wife?
No, she ran with her friend. I was half an hour ahead. And to be fair, Brighton marathon, I finished in 4 hours, and she finished in 4 hours 50. So, I got to the finish line at literally 2:05 or something on for the Southampton game. Couldn't get any signal. I couldn't get anything at all, but I did manage to phone my dad weirdly, and he gave me the score. But that's so I missed all the Southampton game. What was the question?
Well, yeah. So now we're talking. I guess we are talking about the squad strength, right? Okay. I mean, to me, like, obviously Tottenham need to improve. But I mean, look, it's a blessing and a curse when I make the argument, and I believe it. You don't have to. People in the comments don't have to. You can disagree and let us know if you're doing. By the way, guys, there's 600 and odd people in the house. Can you smash the like button, please, and smash the subscribe? Really helps if you haven't already. Helps the channel kick into the algorithm. Usually, I don't need to ask too much because the algorithm does its job because of my familiarity putting out content. But because of these absences, the algorithm's forgotten about Spurs Talk Show a little bit. So smash the like and the subscribe. The argument that I'm putting forward here is essentially that I think that our like A team, B team, squad rotation, whatever, there's plenty of times in this season where, you know, Tottenham have had, you know, people don't shudder when you have Bissouma on the starting 11. People don't shudder if Pape Sarr's, but people love Pape Sarr. I love Pape Sarr, right? But he's not first choice. But when you look at the gap between that first 11 and the second 11, I don't think it's that wide. I sit there and I 100% do not subscribe to this notion that other people put out there that Tottenham have zero depth and our team isn't good enough. I just don't agree with it. But what I would say, obviously Tottenham need 3 or 4 better players to elevate, right? I take your point, Adrian, that, you know, Solanke's not like he's not scary. He's not like, oh my God, like an Ekiteke is on the Frankfurt first 11, or like, you know, Harry Kane used to be, or insert whoever you want there. He's not a monster in that regard, but he is a monster of a player. And Tottenham do need 3 or 4 players to come in. Now, I'd like to see Richalison. No, so you look into that second team and kind of go, well, who is it that you'd like to kind of move on? Well, you need to make room by moving a few of those players on. So for me, Bissouma can go, Richalison can go. You know, maybe you need to bring in another fullback to help out Spence and Porro on the right-hand side if you want to see Spence play on the left, or vice versa. And that monster 6 is crucial. But I just don't subscribe to this notion that Tottenham have masses of work to do in the transfer market. I think if you could go and find a way to get a killer at the top end, a 6, and then a defender that is a bit versatile, like a David Hansko, for example, someone like him that can sit there, and in the inevitable absence of Micky van der Ven next season, and you haven't got to pivot back to Ben Davies or to Archie Gray, that you have someone that's ready-made. And I don't know if Luka Vuskovic is ready. None of us do. He looks like a real talent, but you probably need someone that can like not be like where Micky van der Ven's absence isn't that significant. Then you're 3 or 4 players away from having a team that can really do bits if you have a manager that can adapt, that has a bit of versatility, and that is capable of figuring out the strengths and weaknesses of the opposition and playing and setting the team up accordingly. Now, whether Ange has got that in him or not, a lot of us would say no, he doesn't. But in the big games right now, he's showing that we don't just play the same version every week. We don't just do the same thing. We didn't do anything like Ange ball on Thursday night. So, you know, and I think that added ingredient there, John, of having such a young squad, most of which will earn a UEFA Cup winners medal if we go as far as to beat Bilbao or United in the final, if we get there. That changes things, mate. That's like someone who's like, I don't know, a 7 out of 10 when he's 19 years old, but he's got a bit of bad teeth and he goes and gets braces. And suddenly he's 19 years old and he's walking down Clapham High Street on a Friday night and he's got the confidence and the wind in his back. He can chat up any bird because what he thought was weak or where he had doubts about his own makeup, suddenly those that Invisalign has fixed a lot of things. And now he can chirps the best 9 out of 10s on the street and probably go home with a couple of numbers. And I think that's what a UEFA Cup winners title gives you, confidence and belief in yourself. And I think that we have there within us a team, a squad, the majority of which are under 23 years old. And if you can go on and lift that trophy, next season can be magnificent for Tottenham and the seasons to come, with or without Ange in tow. And I want to give John the chance first, Adrian, before I let you come back in, to hear your thoughts, John.
Okay, I was just seeing Totspurs asking you about if you want a Monster 6, where would you play Gray? I'd bring a Monster 6 in with Gray learning from him because you have to rotate, especially if you're going to be in the Champions League, or it'll be a problem if we're not and we've only got the cups. It's going to be difficult. We won't have the budget anyway. But going back to the squad thing, I think we need another fullback so that we've got 4 fullbacks. It'd be great if we could bring another person in like Spence who can cover both sides. I think Romero's probably off in the summer, isn't he? And I know that we brought Danso in early. He wasn't planned to be brought in January, but I think we're going to have to bring another centre back in. So from that point of view, and I agree, right wing is a problem for me. Johnson, he worked hard. He tackled back, and I don't remember him really ever tackling back before, but he doesn't offer enough going forward. He's brilliant attacking the far post, and his one-touch finishes are very good, but he doesn't give enough to the team during the game for me. And they need to find a way, a bit like Sonny, of how can they make him a more effective player? Because he does a good job for Wales, often playing the inside right. So we need to be able to improve him, because we're not going to sell him. People say get rid of him, but no one's going to pay the money that we've paid for him. Richarlison, I see the best we're going to do with him is get him on a loan because his injuries are so bad. I know a guy who actually used to work at Spurs in the medical department, who is an Everton fan by coincidence. And he was telling me that season, Richarlison kept Everton up just before he joined us. He played through loads of injuries and he broke himself. So we got done a little bit by it. I know Everton were upset that we got him supposedly 10 million cheaper than they wanted 70 million for him. But we got done there. And that was naive, really, of us as a club. We should have seen that he had the injury problems. But I quite like his attitude, Sean. I like the fact he does have an effect, but he can't stay fit. I see Checkmate say Everton want Richie back, but it'll be a loan. They're not going to pay money for him. I honestly don't see that. Or it'll be like the Delhi deal. He's got to pay so many games.
Everton are broke, mate. Everton have got no money.
Yeah,
they've got new owners.
Yeah, but
they've been
can't.
bought out.
But they can't just spend money that the club doesn't have. So.
No, true, yeah. But there's ways around that. Like, ENIC put 100 million in, don't they? You can use that towards your PSR calculation. There's ways around it. Look at what Chelsea are doing, for goodness sake.
Well,
there's so many loopholes because the Premier League rules are basically rubbish because they didn't get a top lawyer to actually look at them.
There'll be no problem selling Richarlison on. Not even though Chelsea and Arsenal could do the number 9 and they won't come in for him. You have to look at the market. You've got to look at the market. There's a dearth of number 9s out there. Calvert-Lewin won't sign a new contract at Everton. That's why they're strongly linked with Richarlison anyway. So I think it could be a loan, John, but I think they'll be probably.
It'll be a loan, possibly with an obligation.
Yeah,
it'll be dependent on the appearance.
Two of the Saudi clubs are still interested. Depends on Richarlison whether he wants to stay in the Prem or not. World Cup coming up. Things like that. There's all that to take in consideration.
He needs to play though, right? And I don't think Tottenham are going to guarantee in the minutes that he thinks he wants it. He's not going to play enough. He's not good enough for Tottenham. Come on, he really isn't good enough for Tottenham. Yeah. He's not good enough.
Oh no, I agree with that. I like him as the number 2, but he wants to play. He wants to be Brazilian's number 9 again. But I don't think he can stay fit long enough. And that's the problem. He needs to be at a club where there's not so much pressure on him to play. Maybe a club playing fewer games. Everton would be a great fit. He loves Everton. We know that. But I just don't see them giving us cash up front for him. It'll be a loan with an obligation, or it'll be like a very low fee at the beginning with maybe loads of add-ons based on, whatever appearances or goals, whatever.
Well, we owe about 421 million in outstanding fees, agents' fees, managers' fees, and player transactions. Right. So part of that might still be part of the Richarlison deal anyway. I mean, how long's he been with us now? 3?
Yeah, this will be 3 years. So he's basically worth 20 million to us on the original 50 million fee because we probably haven't paid any add-ons. Yeah. We might have to if we win the Europa League because it get qualified for the Champions League is an add-on, isn't it? But it's that'll be 500,000.
Let's play make believe here, John. What do we do if we do win the Europa League, right? And we're back in the Champions League. I think you pick up. Well, let's just round off. I've got a database somewhere on probably some corrupt file that I shouldn't open ever again, but. It's in
Vietnam, isn't it? Somebody's hard drive.
Yeah, on someone's hard.
Along with you.
Yeah. Along with everything else I've been doing on the internet.
Yeah.
The reality is, if we do qualify for if we win the Europa League, then you're going to make 50, 60 million, guaranteed numbers basically from the Champions League. You're going to get an extra 20. I think it's about 20 million extra from winning the Europa League. The 80 million that I already kind of explained in I think it's one of my previous lives or previous uploads where it's very recently in terms of the chronological list of content, but it's about a month ago where I explained where the 80 million number that I came from, where I got it by looking at the FFP situation and looking at our financial numbers back in March. And so like with the Europa League success, plus the additional doubling of the accounts, or doubling of the non-match day events. Obviously, with all that stuff comes higher costs because the cost of putting on the events is going up as well. All of those things there. But you could, if you win if you win the Europa League, then you could realistically expect Tottenham to be able to do all the things that I've said all season that you should be able to expect a record transfer fee paid for a player and a new club's highest earner And that doesn't include outgoing players. Now, you said, John, you expect Romero to leave the club. Do you think he leaves even if we win the Champions, even if we win the Europa League? Do you think he still wants to leave?
I think he's head. He wants to go and play for Simeone at Atletico, doesn't he? 2 years left in his contract. I don't see him signing a new contract. So yeah,
Well,
I
then
think if he can go to Atletico Madrid, he goes there.
For how much?
Wow, this is Daniel Levy we're talking about. It's going to be 60 odd million plus, isn't it? We're definitely going to recoup what we bought him for, but it'll be how much hardball. I mean, I can imagine Romero will make it difficult for us. He will make sure he gets his move when he'll have a proper sulk and maybe not come back from Argentina and do a bit of Berbatov, no doubt, because he's that sort of type, isn't he? You get the feeling. I see Bissouma going for maybe 20, 25 million. Maybe we'll get the money back. He's got a year left. Bentancur, there was talk of renewing his contract. But again, if we do have a new manager, they might say, actually, if we can sell him, move him on.
Do you think Bentancur, do you guys really think Bentancur is a good enough 6? And if not,
No,
do you think he's a good enough 8? Do you think he's a good enough 8? But is he? But is he as an 8? Where is he ahead of? Is he ahead of Berghvall?
No, not for me.
Is he?
Berghvall's got the athleticism and the ability.
And so like, do you need Bentancur and Pape Sarr? Do you sell Pape Sarr?
Sarr for me doesn't.
Him and Udogie, they're tied down to 2030, Sean. They ain't going nowhere. And with Bentancur, I like Bentancur, what he's doing now for us, what he's been doing for us. But I liked him before the ACL injury. You know, when he used to drive us up the field. You always knew that when he got the ball, he always looked to go forward and drive us up the field. And in his position, it's not like you're a Michael Owen and you're really dependent on pace as a striker. So, and I think he's done. I think he's been okay. I think he's been okay this season. I think he's come back for the injury, and actually, I thought, is he going to come back?
It's not. I'm not sitting here making the argument because look, obviously, I read the game differently to everybody else, and not that I believe that the popularity of an opinion has any basis in its veracity. I 100% believe that you can have an opinion that is raw and unique and still be on the right page. But on a performance-based basis, everybody seems to think that Bentancur was man of the match or close to. I didn't, but at least in the first half. But either way, I just don't think he's a good enough 6. And as an 8, I sit there and go, well, there's a lot of competition for 8s at Tottenham. A lot of competition for 8s, right? And none of them are massively ahead of shots above anyone else. But for me, Berghvall is your number one. He's going to have to be number one choice. He's too good and he's too brilliant. Pape Sarr, I think, has got so much about him that is unique. Like Kulusevski is unique in his ability because Kulusevski. There's very few players that are like Kulusevski that have the strength, the stamina, the desire, the hold up a play, and also the kind of quickness of his feet and that deft touch. He looks up more than anybody else, right? He's always looking up. He's like a dwarf in a fucking basketball convention. He is always looking up, and it's incredible to see how much he can. Because it's easier for someone like Lionel Messi to look up because he's only got 3 feet between his feet and his head, whereas Kulusevski's 6 foot tall, so it's a bigger peripheral to have to carry. But like Pape Sarr is unique in that regard, in that he does things and has characteristics that most other players don't. His ability to cover blades of grass, his interceptions, his anticipation. But does he have the final pass? I think he gives the ball away too much. If you have to make, like, let's assume you're going to sell Bissouma, 1, that's fine. But if you need to sell a second midfielder, do you sell Bentancur or do you sell Sarr?
I guess it depends on what offers are on the table, doesn't it? It wouldn't be. We've done it before. We offer players out to agents and say, right, get me the best deal you can, and then it might be you take the choice of what the offer is, or if an offer comes in for a specific player, you talk to the player. Do you want to go to this club? And if it all aligns, then it happens. We do the reverse. We line up 4 or 5 players maybe, and it might be that 2 or 3 of them are all lined up at the same time, but we can only take one of them, and we have to make that choice. Which one do we want? They might be different positions as well. And that's definitely what I've been told does happen at times. They'll have 3 deals all come together, but they can only buy 2 of them, and they're different positions. So they have to make a choice at that point. What can we afford? I think going back to your saying about PSR, Sean, ultimately, you say Spurs can spend this, but when do we really? I know we've had a couple of big summers, but when do we really go that extra mile? And I think it is because we know Daniel Levy isn't a rich man in terms of, he is compared to us, but not in terms of a football club owner. He can't put money in. Joe Lewis, no idea. He's not putting any money in, and he's getting, what's he, 89 now?
Yeah, he's
so
done. Yeah.
What is interesting is it was obviously last year's accounts, the 22-23 accounts, which came out in April the 4th or whatever it was last year. They said about investment. We're over a year down the line now. And although there's rumours, I know Jose said on his show yesterday, there's rumours that of a buyout, but we're getting no more murmurs. Maybe that's why this Vinnie guy's come in. Is he part of the deal, or has he just been brought in and decided Scott?
I've been saying it since November when those details came out around the stock split, the stock allocation.
December that was, wasn't it? December, January.
Well, there was two. So there was the initial announcement. There was something that happened in November, and then in December there was also the things that were listed on the stock on the company's house regarding the allocation of stock split or stock allocations. That the numbers of which were never clarified by anybody, not Ali Gold or anybody else, around whether it was 12 million or 30 million. The numbers looked like it was 30 million, but it was written by the Athletic as though it was 12 million, and it didn't make any sense. And it's still
it was 30 million.
It was, yeah. That's what I took from it. Crunching the numbers, it looked like it was 30 million, but who and what that went for, and to and why, and all that stuff hasn't been announced. Then you had the rumours around the non-disclosure agreement with people that were presumed to be stably in the Qatar formation.
Yeah.
But there's no noise there. Now you've got the new CEO coming in, the likely the likely moving on of Scott Munn, and with that, does that mean Johan Lang? And also, does that mean that Ange Postecoglou? There's a lot of shit going on at Tottenham Hotspur that is not being spoken about in the public sphere. A lot of stuff. I've been saying it for months. We don't know what it looks like, but I would be amazed if there's not some sort of clarification on that over the next 3-4 months. There has to be at some point a disclosure of what's going on. To me, the notion that nothing's going on is bonkers. It's bonkers.
An investor or a group of investors, Sean, they're not going to be a solution. Fans seem to think this is going to be some sort of a panacea to our ills. It's not happening at all. The only reason the club want an investor to pump some money in is so they don't have to borrow money to build the hotel and do them other infrastructure projects, even with the women's training ground. There's not going to be any money going into the team from that. It would free up money that if he's got to pay some money off on that, but not a fortune.
Well, that's the point, though. But you can't.
We need a complete buyout. We don't need investors. The clue's in the name, Spurs fans. Investors want a return on their investment, and the only way you get it out Spurs, you either get a long-term investment if you gentrify Tottenham and you increase the land value, and the value of the stadium goes up and the value of their estate goes up. We've seen what's happened in different areas. I mean, Brixton was gentrified, and other areas have been gentrified in London when they've been designated government improvement areas, and the property prices shoot up. You've only got to look what houses were 30 years ago and stuff like that. So that's if you're in there for the long haul, or you're a big enough investor that you just want to park some of your money because it's sitting around stinking, doing nothing. But I don't get excited over an investor, whereas even if it's Stavely or any other Qataris. Oh, it'll be a phased buyout. That's another way of saying to fans, like, be patient and all that, right?
But just for clarification, Adrian, like, the money can't go, like, but a new buyer coming in and putting 500, I said this 1,000 times, just to make sure everyone in the back is hearing. If a new buyer puts £500 million into the club, that £500 million cannot just go onto the balance sheet as a transfer kitty. That's not how the rules work. It doesn't work that way. No. So, like, the way of thinking it is that money can go into the off-field infrastructure that the money for which would otherwise have to come from the club. And so if those things have to be paid for, then either the transfer kitty is diluted because that money that the club generates goes to it, or the third party money comes in and goes towards it, which allows the money that the club generates to stay in the club and can be used towards the transfer kitty. So people that think if the Qatar comes in and buys 10% or 8% or 12% for 500 million, that suddenly makes Tottenham able to buy whoever. That's not how it works. That's just not the rules. People.
And this myth about we don't spend money. I went on Transfer Market, did all the years since the stadium opened in 2019. We've spent £1.027 billion on players, John, but it actually was 699 point something. But they said 700 million in the last financial report, if you looked at it, right? So there's been a net spend of 700 million because the money for Kane. We even got like 20 mils and 20 mils for Skip and Winks and 16 mil for Ericsson. And them little 15s and 20s, they all add up. You know what I mean? We still owed money, and we still owe a lot of money, 421 million. But so if you go that on 6 years, we 700 million net, you know, we've actually spent a lot of money on players, but it's only in the recent transfer windows that I would say we have failed better in recent transfers. Our recruitment before in Dembele, you know, even Sanchez, even Richarlison, you know, even Lascelles, 200 odd million there. I mean, like, and then you're not including the wages on that as well, right?
Yeah, well, Chetmate's commented that, isn't he? The wages we don't pay the wages. Now, if we were to get regular Champions League, you'd expect us to be pushing up the wages again. And the perception I got last summer was they were trying to have a bit of a reset, weren't they, to rein it all back in, and they've started giving new contracts to
Spurs fans. This is why I'm not renewing my season ticket next season. It's because I know what a transfer window is going to be like.
Coming a season ticket.
I'm going to give it up. I'm giving it up. Yeah, because I know what the transfer window is going to be like this summer. You know, we all know what it's going to be like.
Well, go on.
We're going to hope that we get quality players in for bargain prices. Basically, that's what we're going to hope to do.
All depends on the Europa League.
We spent, you know, like I say, we spent 700 million net since the stadium opened, like £1.027 billion on transfer market. I did all the years, right? So, but you know, like, so what? We're not going to go and break a release clause for Kuna at 62 million when you could go and get Fratesi and Vlahovic for 62 million. There are bargains to be had. We've still got homegrown issues at academy level for Europe, but and there are. Don't get me wrong. It's not the amount of money. It's the quality of player you're getting for the amount of money. I don't mind spending. Like if I think the player's quality, or we do, then the money, right? Obviously, we know obvious players, but there aren't that many marquee signings out there or Galacticos out there, are there at the moment? Nico Williams is still at Bilbao, isn't he? Right, but you'd consider him one because he's won things with Spain. But
it'd be insane, but he's not coming to Tottenham.
No. I mean, no, exactly that. So we're going to be. I mean, I'd love to think we could. I would take a Jonathan Tah. I would take. Tapsoba and Hincapie at Leverkusen as well would cost you a bit more. Wouldn't mind those. You know, I mean, we need Henko.
If you lose Romero,
Henko would be a good buy.
If Romero goes for like 60 million,
yeah,
I still think he's worth more than that. But everyone seems we had this debate before.
Depends what you can get for it, though, doesn't it? It's just whatever anyone's willing to pay. And if he's going to throw his toys out the pram, make it difficult, there might be a
point.
The
rumour quote today on one of the reports I read was 80 million euros to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, so right. I've been saying 70 million pound or above. Well, I made an argument for a net zero summer transfer spend that included liquidating a few players plus the 80 million you'd have, and I sort of said that the net zero didn't even include whatever budget there was, just by liquidating this, that, and the other, and bringing in this, that, and the other. And I think that if Tottenham are going to go all the way to the Europa League and win it, if Daniel Levy doesn't then like show his nuts, basically put his nuts on the table and go all in, then that would be enough for me to pivot towards the movement that I don't subscribe to. I don't subscribe to the change for Tottenham thing because I think it's a rebranding of the Levy out thing, and I think it's a bit of a massive bait and switch there. I always support people's right to protest, but cards on the table, I think that whole thing was a massive bait and switch. It was just a rebranding of the same movement. People that, again, I have no problem. I've said this 1,000 times. I have absolutely zero problem with where people land on their opinion. People like Sava, I love Sava to pieces as a human being. He's a lovely guy. Where I respect him is his opinion about Tottenham is different to mine. His channel is forged and formulated around this, like everything, the grass is greener elsewhere. But what Saba does is he gets from A to B in a logically consistent manner, right? He doesn't like jump through the hoops and say things that don't add up. Like he'll get there logically consistently. A lot of people that are part of the Levy Out movement that say the buck stops at the top and roll out the come out whenever Tottenham lose a game and say it's Daniel Levy's fault. They don't come out and give Daniel Levy credit when we win a game, for example. There's a lack of consistency with the narrative. But people like Saba, that they do hold their how they get. I don't care where you are, where you land. I want to know how you get there, and if you get there in a consistent manner. And for me, I think that the change for Tottenham movement is a rebranding of the Levy Out movement, of which, for the most part, I've found to be logically inconsistent when they enunciate how they get to from where they are to where they want to be. If Daniel Levy doesn't put up the funds, the vast majority, I know that you obviously need to always be thinking about the future. You always need to keep a little bit back for rainy days and stuff like that. But if Tottenham were to be able to finish in and qualify for the Champions League next year, then whatever happens with the manager, the money that we will have earned from the Europa League trophy lift from the prize money, and then also from the guaranteed income you're going to get from the Champions League, if the vast majority of that money is not added to the budget, of which our last accounts have suggested that we are capable of delivering regardless of European football, and with any money that would come from selling players like Romero, you could easily justify putting together an incredibly healthy budget, i.e. a record spend, a record transfers. If Tottenham beat Bilbao or United in Bilbao on May, whatever it is, the 15th, 17th, if we win that and lift that trophy, and Tottenham do not spend over 100 million net in this summer, then Daniel Levy, to me, has the risk appetite, which I've always considered to be problematic, has taken its toll to the point where Tottenham, there's no longer any justification for him being a persistent part, even though lifting the trophy will have alleviated a lot of the concerns that people have about him. As 17, where it is 25 years, one trophy, yada yada yada, all the shit that we hear all the time. If he lifts that trophy, a lot of people would therefore have to kind of pull back a little bit, but at the same time, put the money where the mouth. Put your money now where the success has been generated. And if he doesn't in the summer, then that would be a demonstration to me that this guy is no longer fit for what we need to do to elevate ourselves. Because if you do lift that trophy in the summer, guys, then you have to assume that Tottenham have that win in their sails and can then march on. And just like most people say, 2019 was the year when everything was going right and he needed to back Poch. I've always argued against that and said I understand the rationale as to why we couldn't, because of the $1 billion debt, because of the stadium move and the 8 years it takes to acclimate into the new stadium, and the money and the debt and the depreciation, all of the financial kind of recipe that makes that whole thing difficult, which landed me on the point that getting to the Champions League final and not winning it was the worst thing that could have happened to Tottenham Hotspur with regards fans' expectations versus reality. If you were to go on and win the Europa League this year and then not back the club, then that would be a demonstration to me that Daniel Levy needs to move on, not for the same reasons as other people feel, but for my own unique reasons. I think that would be the last sort of final nail, that he needs to move on because he isn't willing to prioritise the football club in a moment where there's zero excuses. In 2019, there were plenty of reasons and rationales as to why we couldn't rebuild the team, but now there wouldn't be if we won the Europa League and he didn't do it.
I agree. And not only that, I mean, like, you don't need, although we've spent 700 mil net, over $1 billion since the stadium opened, you don't need, I mean, when people seem to, some fans, not all, but some fans seem to think when you go for a £60 million player, 50 million, you're paying it all in once and then you got no money left. I mean, like, we know these deals are amortized over 5 years now under the new rules, not the 8 rules that Chelsea got away with. So in theory, like you're saying, if you had that 100 million, Sean, we could get 4 quality players in that were 60, 70 million pound players and put 25 million down on each one. But then again, it does agree on the green club, the selling club, how much they want as a down payment. But no club's going to.
This squad, Adrian, in your opinion, only needs 4 players, right?
Yeah, I think to improve it, I think a 9, like you say. look, we don't know what's happening with Solomon, who's smashing it at Leeds, or Heung Min Hook and all that. This is why that pre-season tour needs to be over and done quickly, so as they can decide if anyone takes their fancy out of these young players before the transfer window ends. Or are we going to wait? Are we going to move straight away because we've got targets already, which we should have, right?
Yeah, but forget about the youth, right? Forget about the youth, because none of those players. If you're good enough, you're old enough, right? If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Okay.
But if you are
player number 6, number 9, right winger, left back. I wanted Dorgu and Ezzy at the summer transfer.
Sorry, what was that? Say again. A 9, a 6, a winger, and a left back.
Yeah,
I agree.
But I'm not with the winger. I'm not sure what happens. We got so many wingers here. I mean, Son's still here, but we still got Decky can play out there of push. You've got Tell. You've got Odegaard. We don't know what's happening with Solomon or Yang.
We don't have Tell. We can't assume
we've got Mikey Moore. I want to see him give him game time, at least half hour in these games, right? So this is the problem. Because we don't know. We don't speculate.
Sorry, Adrian. Right. The Mikey Moore conundrum to me is a problem with the fan base, right? Everyone thinks that because he's one of our own and because he's so highly sought after and so highly touted, that he has to be good enough and therefore has to be ready. And my argument is that I don't care how old you are. If you're considered good enough, then you are put into the same caliber, the same consideration, and the same conversation as everybody else, no matter how old they are. If we think that Mikey Moore is good enough, then we have to compare him. Just because he's 17 is irrelevant. If he's good enough, is he comparable to Heung Min's son? Is he someone that is better than or can do a job as good as Matisse Tell or Odegaard? If the answer is no, then I don't care the fact that he's Tottenham's next Harry Kane or next whoever, like the bright shining light. I don't care that he's 17. If he's good enough, then he has to be in the same conversation as those guys. And when he's played in our first team this season, I haven't seen anything from Mikey Moore to think he's ready. So therefore, I don't consider him to be a part of this like good enough squad to go on to better things next year. I think he might be ready. He might not be ready, but it's not like he's come in and just smashed it at this level. He hasn't. He was only 17 in August, whereas the ring with Tell and Odegaard, they're 19. They're 2 years further on in their development. But that's the point I'm making, mate. Like, I don't care how old you are. If we're talking about players that are ready for our first team, if Mikey Moore is ready, then you have to compare him to who else is part of that squad. And is Mikey Moore has Mikey Moore done anything that suggests that he should be playing in the Europa League final? Other than the fact that he's one of our
every under 21 game last season. He's ready, right? In my opinion, but that's only my opinion. I'm not a coach or nothing like that. And just to make a comparison, when people say, "Oh yeah, give him game time," or not, no, play the others. Think about it. But then you compare it to someone who comes to this club and his first season wanted to leave, and that player was Heung Min Son. His first season at this club was crap, and he played all them games, right? If Mikey Moore was given the amount of games in a season that Son's getting, I'll tell you what, there'll be people sitting on the edge of their seats. I'm telling you, this kid is some super special.
I'm sure he is, mate. But do you understand that the point I'm making is that, like, once forget about how old he is. You're just looking at the player. If we think he's capable of being part of the first team, then you have to compare him to other players in the first team and say, has he done anything in his time in the first team that has demonstrated that he's forget about his age, right? Because his age, yes, he's got time on his side, but we're talking about next season. Is he going to be there first? Is he commanding his place? And from what I've seen from him this season, my answer is no. I haven't seen anything.
He hasn't had much season. He had that good 20-minute spell against the European side, didn't he? And he scored away in the pre-season game at, was it Aberdeen or where was it we playing up there?
He scored against Elfsborg, but then we probably could have scored against Elfsborg.
Yeah, but I'm not talking. I'm talking about the spell he had on the wing in the second half against.
Yeah, against AZ in the first game.
Against AZ Alkmaar, right? Was very good, right? But how many minutes has he had, Sean? How many minutes has he had?
He's not played since he came. He was taken off against
the virus. We don't know what it was. It could have been COVID, long COVID, whatever. And then he had a knock. And there's room to have a knock. But he's been on the bench a lot. I mean, either that or you put him back in the under-21s to give him a game, or he went away with the under-19s and scored, I think. So
Do you understand what I'm saying? Though all I'm saying,
No,
I'm not doubting the players' talent.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we're looking at a first team, and if you're looking at your first team, it doesn't matter whether the player's 17 or 27. It's who makes the team better. And have you seen anything from Micky Moore apart from if the Micky Moore that you have seen in the first team this season was 23 years old and was German and was a loanee or someone that you paid 20 million quid for, would you be sitting there waxing lyrical about him just based on his performances in the first team? And my answer, and I hope you would agree, would be no. He hasn't.
Not yet, Sean, but I watched every under 21 game last season.
Same. I watch every under 21 game as well, mate, and I'm like, this is a massive difference. It's a golfing class.
He is better. He is better player as it stands now than Brennan Johnson.
Is he?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's only my opinion, though. That's only my opinion.
If Micky Moore had played as many minutes as Brennan Johnson this season, that he would have as many goals as Brennan Johnson has?
He definitely had more assists. Yeah, I mean, but Brennan Johnson got 16 goals.
It's actually an interesting debate. Actually, it's an interesting one. Does Micky Moore deserve to start ahead of Brennan Johnson right now, John?
Right now, it's hard to tell. I mean, obviously, like I said, he was taken off at halftime against Villa. He didn't track. I think he didn't track a man for one of the goals. Was part of, I think, the rationale. He's playing the right wing as well, which he's better on the left. But I mean, Johnson's frustrating, as I've already said. He doesn't do enough for the team for me, but he's got the knack of scoring goals. So I think Johnson goes ahead. Yeah, I mean, Timo Werner being played in the cup at Tamworth was scandalous. Frankly, why he did that up front. I know Moore played in that game as well, but there's a number of times when Moore could have played. I know I think glandular fever is what I heard as well. I'll see that in the comments. We don't know how he's doing because if you have something like glandular fever, I've had friends. It's taken 2 or 3 years before they really got that.
I had glandular fever when I was 17, 18. It destroyed me. Yeah,
and there was I think there was a picture of him. Some bloke before one of the games a few weeks ago put a picture of him at a pub in Kent. And he said that he was injured at that point. So maybe he's getting little niggles. It's a big step up going from under 16s to under 21s and then go to the adults games. And he's that sort of player that's going to get kicked as well because he tries to take players off. I think he's done really well. Now that is he 18 now? Or was he 17? I've lost
17.
track.
He was 17.
So he needs to stay until he's 18. So he's got his 3 years qualification to become club trained. And then he can be loaned out if we decide he's not up to that level. Yang's looking good at QPR, but I don't think he's at the level yet. Lancashire's really struggling at West Brom, isn't he? He got dragged off at half time yesterday.
But what about Jamie Donnelly? Is Jamie Donnelly proving it?
Jamie Donnelly's doing really well in League One. That's the thing.
It's the thing. League One, right? League One.
Yeah.
Got a killer splitting fast on him as a 10. He has got a killer forward ball. And Keeley's had about 14 clean sheets at Orient. Didn't they win 4-3 yesterday or something?
They were 3-1 down, and Donnelly got 2 assists. He could have had 3 actually because he won the ball in the halfway and put Kelman through, and Kelman hit the post when going through. So he could have had 3.
They're virtually in the playoffs, aren't they? I haven't looked at the league.
They are in the bottom, the last of the playoff, but it's really tight points wise with Reading. There's about 4 or 5 teams that could take that last.
I think we'll probably sell Keeley because we got a glut of goalkeepers, good goalkeepers. I mean, Maguire's just signed a contract with the under-21s now that Gunter's out on loan at Wealdstone. So we're not sure.
Last question for you then, guys. Last question for you, and then we'll round off. We'll round off in sort of 10 minutes, depending on how long this takes. But I asked this question before to Johnny, and we had a big debate. Didn't actually move anywhere because you know what Johnny and I like. We overtalk each other all the time.
I was interested in the forest and all that, and the lights and
yeah. No,
we've got no bears in Germany.
No. So I didn't. No. So I've had this debate with Johnny, not today, but I mean in the previous last month or whatever. With regards the Paratici, the youth revolution, all this stuff, and I want to know in your opinion, boys, what is it that will dictate success? What are your expectations to consider success of the youth team? The youth system, right? Is it a case of players that make it and break through, or is it a case of profitability? Is it a case of a combination? Do we need Micky Moore, Donnelly, Keeley, Devine, Yang, Lancashire, whoever, Hall, and JA, do these players all need, or do some of them, many of them, all need to make it through to be first team regulars or squad members at Tottenham's first team to be, for this youth revolution that we talk about, to be considered a success? Or are you okay if we buy some of these players for, 800 grand, $1 million, whatever, and then we sell them for 3 or 4 million, or we sell them for the same amount of money we bought them for, but that we whack on 50% sell-on fees as they move on? Are you okay with this youth system being a success if all that really materializes is money coming back in the back door to supplement future transfer spend? Or do you need to see these players be first-team players to consider this whole youth thing that Paratici built to be a success?
They won't all be. I think when I last researched this, which was a couple of seasons ago, about 3% of Premier League academy players make it just to be a regular member of their first-team squads of 25. So the numbers aren't good. It should be much better than that. Right, but academies are improving now because of the inflated prices of some players. You're seeing the prices of young players go up exponentially now, haven't you, recently? And obviously the academy's got to be a profit. We are paying wages. We broke the wage structure when Dean Rastrick left. This is all to do with Paratici. Changed some of the staff as well. And the under-17s won the cup last week, Friday. Don't know if anyone knows. They won 5-2, beat Charlton. Watched the game. Entertaining. And young Williams Barnett got himself a nice hat-trick. I believe he scored today as well.
He looks a good prospect.
That's a really good
prospect. He's so calm, doesn't he? Yeah. And the winger, the left winger, Thompson, he looked good and all when I see him.
Thompson, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen him before. The only one I really knew was Williams Barnett. Yeah, so, Sean, it's got to be profitable. I mean, if you're investing that money in there, and you're now paying these kids wages, which we weren't giving them wages before, which entices them to come. And we can afford to pay them more wages than other clubs. That's why we went out and bought Vustovic. I think we paid 12 to 16 million for him as a 16-year-old. That's unheard of for Spurs to do that.
Yeah.
Lancashire was at Arsenal. He went to Sheffield United, and we paid 2 or 3 million for him when he was 17.
It was $1 million plus $1 million the add-ons.
Yeah. So
which we'll make back.
Phillips we brought in from Blackburn. I think we give 2 or 3 million for him. Might have been 5. I'm not sure. So we're paying that. Now, if you're paying that, you're obviously going to give them wages. Whether you're giving them $5,000 a week or 10 grand a week, they're definitely getting grands a week anyway. Not getting pocket money. And there's got to be a return for that. And I think Paratici's done a good job. I think the whole academy structure is moving in the right direction. But no, they won't. I mean, there's players I liked. I thought Santiago would make it, and he's playing in the Spanish second division. Soon-Suk Bell, right? He's playing in the Spanish second division now. We got him for Chelsea for nothing, and we just signed that Mason Melia is playing for St Patrick's in Ireland or something.
By the way, I scored before the game. I think it was the Liverpool game when there was the initial change for Tottenham protests. I walked into a pub outside where the starting point was, and there was 3 or 4 guys, maybe 2 guys and a kid, or 3 guys and a kid from Ireland who recognised me and said hello. And they basically said, "Oh, you signed that Mason Melia? We're season ticket holders at St Partick or St Patrick or wherever it was." And I was like, "Oh, what's he like?" And they were like, "He's really good." I was like, "How good are we talking about? Like, Wayne Rooney good? Are we talking about like Harry Kane good? Are we talking about like, from an Irish perspective, are we talking about Troy Parrott good? Are we talking about Evan Ferguson good? What level are we good?" And he was like, somewhere between Evan Ferguson and like Wayne Rooney. Like he's much, much, much better than Evan Ferguson was. Obviously, Wayne Rooney's like a obviously boy wonder. But these people were saying like, you've got Tottenham have signed an absolute worldie potentially. He can keep his feet on the floor.
To the chat, go and watch clips of this kid, right? He's got very quick feet. After the show, yeah. He's got a quick turn and a slide with his foot where he can slip the ball and go. He is a good. He looks a talent. He looks a talent. I've only seen clips of him, and usually when he's scoring as well. But No, he looks good, but he's young. He's young as well. But
he's not ready yet, though. He won't be ready yet.
Well, another one approaching 17 and loan back out, isn't he? I mean, but you never know. Well, I'm waiting to see. What I like to read between the lines. I want to see who goes on the pre-season tour. Which young players go on the pre-season tour? That's what I want to see. You know,
where is our tour this year? We're playing in Hong Kong, aren't we?
Yeah, we're playing Arsenal. We're playing Newcastle out
in
there.
Hong Kong.
Yeah,
we're not going to Korea.
Yeah, the Newcastle games in South Korea.
So we've got a game in South Korea, we've got a game in Hong Kong, in China off.
And they haven't announced any others, and I think they'll probably stay there. I just hope that we come back. This is what pisses me off with this club. We used to go on pre-season tours and come back with very little time to work with the players on the training field before a season starts. My ideal situation, you've got 11-week transfer window. 2 of those weeks usually go into the transfer window. This year it's split into 2 parts to help out poor Man City and Chelsea in the World Club Cup. You couldn't fucking make this up, right? I mean, why help those 2 teams out anyway, right? So it opens on June the 1st to the 10th. Then there's a break for the World Club Cup, and then the transfer window carries on after that.
Well, so you can't do transfers during the World Club Cup.
No, it's bullshit, isn't it? It's absolute bullshit.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, so from the 1st to the 10th, I think it opens, and then I think that World Club Cup, they'll crash that out and burn the players out.
It's not the whole Club Cup, is it? It's part of it. Basically, in the 12-month period, you have 12 weeks of transfer window. That's apparently how it works for all countries. So normally we do like the 10th of June till whatever the end of August. So because they can't do the beginning of June,
2 weeks into the season, because if we don't want to be disadvantaged by European clubs, like. Sorry, go on, John. Get the info. Well, he's got a dog out there.
Oh, there's dog in.
All right, okay.
I had to let him out. He was all barking.
I know it's the 1st to the 10th. Look, I don't know how long that. You've got to say that worst ways that World Club Cup goes for 2 weeks. I think it goes for about 10 days. I think they crash these games out. Right?
It's going to be long because there's so many teams.
4 groups. Yeah, there's 4 groups.
It's okay. I'll tell you what it is. It's 1st of June, opening early June, and then reopening on the 16th of June, closing on the 1st September. So yes, it's only actually shut from between the 11th and the 15th of June.
But in reality, though, you'd hope that like clubs can have conversations.
They
just can't register a player in that 5-day period, which is,
okay.
So to answer your question, which is quite a while ago, I think it's got to be multi-layered, hasn't it? It's got to be multifaceted. You've got to be looking to bring players through that, there'll be players that don't make it. You're looking to bring players through that you can sell at a profit, and then you're looking for players that you can bring into the first team squad. And maybe you're going to get the likes of Livermore, Mason, these guys that we end up selling for.
Livermore.
Well, Livermore we sold for 11.
Where did he go? How much did we sell him for?
12-13 million to Hull, wasn't it? We sold
him
to
Hull with Huddleston, didn't he?
Livermore, wow.
I used to train with his dad, who was British powerlifting champion. But
wowzers.
That was many years ago.
Yeah, Carter Vickers.
He's at West Brom. He was at West Brom last I heard, Jake.
He was at West Brom, yeah. But I think we've got to find a player. But what we're doing, Paratici, obviously Johnny's told us this. Paratici got Levy to change the model, because I think Pleat might have said years ago that Levy didn't want to do what Chelsea were doing and go and buying paying young kids to come into the Chelsea academy that never actually played. But we've got to that bit where we are bringing these players in. We signed Melia plus 3 others, didn't we, Adrian, in January? Yeah. We got the lad from Chelsea, lad from Liverpool, and there was another one as well. I've forgotten where from. All came in that, and there was 4 of them. Man City, that's it. Batty came in. Yeah. Now, not all these guys will get there, but I think we're just going to see who we can steal or who we can sign, offering them decent money and saying, look, this is the pathway if you can make it. And it might be that we just do what Chelsea do and make money out of loaning them to championship clubs. Or it might be that we do that and then the goal of selling. I do think Divine probably now, age 20, he's gone on this loan, obviously, to Westerlo playing with Vuskovic. I imagine we're probably going to sell him this summer. Yeah. I don't really see him making it, unfortunately. He seems like a talented player, but I don't think he's going to make it. And I think this will be our thing. We're going to try and sell 1, 2, 3 players. Everyone knows this is what you've got to do for PSR. I know we're way below the PSR compliance thing, but if you want to keep improving, you've got to sell players that have cost nothing or have got no amortization left so that you can keep going with it. And obviously, weirdly, it's worked.
Someone's thinking,
yeah, you've got your background. There you go. On your front of your jumper, Adrian. There you go. The guy that went Elliot that went from Newcastle to Forest. Would we have seen him at Newcastle? He's having a great season, isn't he? And there's all these players that. I mean, there's been a couple of goalkeepers.
Well, Sirkin's at Sunderland now, the left back, and we desperately need.
He wanted to go, didn't he? That was his choice. He forced the move.
Like Dylan Marcandy wanted to go and leave the group, but he hadn't even been farmed out, and he's one of those players I think he wanted to run before he could walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but his contract was running out.
Now there's a rumour that because Walker Peters is out of contract, we might end up with him because he's homegrown in the transfer window for peanuts, probably.
No, we're not going to sign Walker Peters. Come on now.
I don't think we're going back there.
Nothing. Leave you like that deal. He'd virtually come back for nothing.
Yeah, but the trouble is when they're on a Bosman, they demand massive signing on fees, which is almost as big as the transfer fee half the time. 100%. A lot of these players.
If you're good.
Actually, I read the numbers. 70%. If you think you're signing a player for free, 70% of the money that you would have spent had he been under contract is what you would pay anyway in agents' fees, family fees, signing on fees, bonuses, and additional salaries. So it really isn't the kind of game changer that you think it is by signing players that are on Bosmans. It's just not the way you think of it that way. But with FFP, you have to factor in all those things as well. So it's just not quite the same, But listen, guys, look, we've been going for 2 hours and a half, and it's been a wonderful reintroduction back into the chat with you boys. And thank you, John. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you also to Johnny as well. And thank you everyone to the chat. Great to see you all. It's been a while. I hate my absences. I really do. Please stick with me. Bear with me. I apologise for the absences. They're never anything other than forced. I promise you that. Thank you for Tom and to Spurs GCTV, to Rob and to my man Blaine Devlin for the loyalty. And also thank you very much to Totspur63 for the wonderful donation. Really appreciate that, mate. To Loves Music and to Callum Ross. I'm not even sure if I call this one out, Callum. I do apologise, mate. Paratici, the ban over the court case is just starting, he says.
Retrial.
Is that right?
There's a retrial, yeah.
Ooh.
I googled it when I saw that come up.
I better go and because I remember doing the old I did the whole Paratici playlist. I had like 9 different Paratici videos. I even made a playlist about it from about 2 years ago. Maybe I've got to go and add some more to that. I'm going to figure out what's going on there. But thank you very much to everyone for coming on. Adrian, John, have you guys? John, you've just sent me something in the chat here.
It's just about the Paratici thing, so you can read it at your pleasure.
Oh, thank you, mate. I'll do that after.
And for hackers to read.
Boys, have you got? Yeah. Boys, please plug away. Any channels? Any YouTube?
Go on, Adrian.
Yeah, well, without going through all the channels we're in, Spurs Diehards TTID. You can find us on YouTube. We've got a Facebook group, 14,500 members on that. We've got a page we just started recently, about 300 on that. And I'm on XCOM under my name here. If you want to follow me on XCOM, you can on there. And that's about it, really. Our next show's going out Tuesday. I was going to ask these two if they want to come on to post-match Forest. I'll talk to them in the chat afterwards, after we leave here. Yeah, that's it. Big up to you all in the chat. We always value your questions, giving your time up to us, and that's why we bring you content.
100%.
Yeah. So I'm on the Lads It's Tottenham YouTube channel, which is a bit hit and miss at the moment. We've got Gibbo and Dave do a grumpy old Spurs on a Tuesday evening at 7, which is always good entertainment. I try to get on a few Fridays as and when, but I'm also part of the Cheese Room audio pod. Which the Cheese Room doesn't do a YouTube channel now. That's the Lads It's Tottenham is sort of the spin off of that. So I do the audio pod every now and again as well. So if you like listening to podcasts, it's a good one to give a listen to. And thanks. It's great to see you back, Sean, because obviously we've all missed you. Missing you in the WhatsApp chat as well. I'm
going to try and get back as well. Yeah,
great show.
Appreciate you, boys. Thank you to everyone for coming on. You can find us obviously Spurs Talk Show. Smash the like and subscribe. We're also on Spotify, and you can find me over on Twitter as well at Spurs Talk Show. And Johnny and I do Football Inc. and also Sean Butler TV, where there's a little bit other sort of weirder content going on. Some of it's football finance, and it's spun off now into conspiracy theories. And pretty soon, I'm also going to be uploading some of the content around what's going on with my internet, the demonstrations of the hacks that the Apple ecosystem denies are possible, but I've got all the evidence. I've got thousands of pages of evidence and thousands of pages of and little short videos of demonstrations of weird things that Apple believe are not possible. So I'm going to start putting them out on the YouTube sphere as well, so that everyone can see and learn from the lessons that I will probably never ever recover from. But guys, we love you all. Thanks so much. 600 people in the house for most of it, more than that. Smash the like, smash the subscribe. Get over to the boys' channels here, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. I'll take Bugsy out and get something recorded and uploaded for you on whatever the topics are of tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.